Good morning. I'd like to welcome you to the regularly scheduled Planning Commission for June 9th, 2022. If you would, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yes. All right. Thank you very much. Ms. Leiter, are there any changes to the agenda?
Morning.
Good morning.
PDR 2118P, Creekside at Rootland Ranch, Creekside Development of Manatee, Neighborhood Meeting Summary, added the stipulation and revised approval alternative motion in a strike-through underline format. PDC 2119 CG, Swift Self-Storage, Belisa Masara owner, is a neighborhood workshop summary. And item number 6, PDMU 1616 GR Parish Lakes General Development Plan Amendment, is revisions to the staff report in a strike-through underline format. And all of these are in the update memo.
Very good. Thank you. Ms. Schenk, is there anything from the County Attorney's Office?
No changes, Mr. Chair.
Thank you very much. All right, we're going to go on to citizen comments, and this is an opportunity for anybody in the audience who wishes to come forward and make a comment on an item that is not on today's agenda. If you wish to make a comment on something that is on the agenda, you'll have an opportunity when that application's heard. But with that, is there anybody who wishes to come forward and make a comment on items that are not on today's agenda? Okay, seeing no one come forward, we're going to close the public comment portion of the hearing and get right into the agenda, item number 1, which is quasi-judicial. So with that, if anybody intends to testify or provide comment, that includes citizen comments, if you intend to speak, please rise to be sworn in. If you don't do it now, you'll have to do it before you speak, and then we'll make fun of you. Thank you very much. All right, Ms. Lidar, the first 2 items are presentations scheduled. So with that, can you please read item number 1 into the record?
Yes, PDR 2121P, Whole Village, Help to Home, Alliance Inc. This is a quasi-judicial case, a preliminary site plan for a residential development containing 53 multifamily residential units on property zoned PDR Plan Development Residential with at least 25% of the units designated as affordable housing. The site is more or less 4.83 acres and is located more or less a quarter mile west of 14th Street West on the south side of City Avenue West, with the address of 1825 City Avenue West. The case manager is Mr. Marshall Robinson, and I think here representing the applicant is Ms. Rachel Layton.
Very good. Good morning, Ms. Layton. How are you?
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
So, good morning. I'm Rachel Layton, AICP Certified Planner. I have been sworn.
you.
I am here on behalf of Mike Carter Construction. I did change jobs. And I have been sworn. I'm a Manatee County resident. So, with that, I'm going to go ahead and jump into the presentation. And start really to let you guys know that I'm so pleased to be a part of this team for this property. Our team today includes Help to Home, which is the developer, owner, and program manager for this site called Hope Village. We have ZNS Engineering, the engineer of record. And today we have Adam Lyon. And, of course, myself with Mike Carter Construction for planning and pre-construction services, Palm Traffic for traffic engineering, and Ardura, Joel Christian, Michael Yates with Palm Traffic, and Joel Christian Ardura, our environmental consultant. So this is my first full affordable housing project. I am so excited. In September of 2021, we worked with county staff to get the Housing Rapid Response Fast Tracking certificate for this property. And this is going to be a 100% affordable project. So this is a little bit different than some of the other projects I've worked on in my career. Very excited about this one. And so what I want to do is tell you a little bit about what we're doing here before I get into all of the technical items for planning. So as I begin to tell you what we have here, I want to let you know that the vision of Hope Village is to give families a chance to escape the cycle of poverty and potential homelessness. We're going to do this by helping parents achieve a better family life and independence so their children have safe and stable homes. The need for safe, stable, affordable housing in Manatee County is great. We're kind of in a housing crisis, and what we're seeing is costs rising daily. With those numbers, some of the statistics we pulled along the way was that there are 44% of individuals and families in Manatee County that are either at risk of or currently experiencing homelessness. They make below $20 an hour and do not have savings to use if a crisis occurs. Minimum wage and other low-income earners face a constant battle in deciding whether to put food on the table or have a safe place to sleep. Some of these families are one paycheck away from homelessness. The average rent in Manatee County has substantially increased in recent years. As I was looking at rent rates over the earlier in the spring, some of those one-bedroom apartments were going for almost $2,000. That is a lot of money, and if you're making $10 or $20 an hour, that is more than your income. This is truly a burden for residents earning below average income. We've learned the key to overcome the cycle of poverty is to reduce rental rates and provide stable housing, which opens opportunities for residents to save money, overcome personal barriers to stability, improve their job skills, and get higher paying work. Hope Village will offer the resources to help the residents in this journey. Employed parents with children are eligible to live in Hope Village, which will provide a unique combination of affordable housing and community programs designed to help residents overcome the barriers that have kept them from economic success. And these may include education, poor financial management, counseling, in all different areas of life. The village coordinator will screen all applicants for admission to Hope Village. The coordinator will consult with each resident to design a structured plan to help them use existing community, social, and educational programs. The program is 2 years for those meeting these established milestones. The program requires effort and desire for permanent change by the residents to become fully functioning and contributing members of our community. So this is kind of a unique approach to the affordable housing. Our workforce does deserve a better approach to helping parents have safe, quality housing for their children. Hope Village is proposing 53 residential units designed to provide stable living situation and prepare the family to achieve long-term sufficiency. As the project has progressed through the review process, Manatee County has drafted, and the BOCC will see a land use restriction agreement later this summer. I'd like to share one final point on this, from the Center for Housing Policy, the impacts of affordable housing on education, a research summary. So what they shared is a growing body of research suggests that stable, affordable housing may increase children's opportunities for educational success. A supportive and stable home environment can complement the efforts of educators, leading to improved student achievement. Affordable housing may foster the educational success of low-income children by supporting family financial stability, reducing mobility, providing safe, nurturing living environments, and providing a platform for community development. So I'm very pleased to be a part of that team that is going to offer this service through Hope Village. So the property itself is located at 1825 30th Avenue West. The proposed site for Hope Village is convenient to jobs, schools, and opportunities. The property, as mentioned earlier by Rosina, is located a quarter-mile west of 14th Street and within walking distance to the bus line, and a half-mile east of 26th Street West. Again, this is 53 single-family semi-detached units on 4.83-acre parcel in the central part of Bradenton. This vacant 4.83-acre parcel of land is truly an infill property created by 2 parcels of land. The property does have existing trees, but no wetlands. The surrounding uses include an age-restricted community to the west and to the south, Youth for Christ and Bethel Baptist Church, which directly abut the property on the south. To the north, there are a variety of housing types. You can see we have everything from single-family to semi-detached to mobile homes to multifamily in this area. The property is within the Res 9 future land use category. Res 9 allows for residential development of 9 dwelling units per acre. Res 9 also allows for a density bonus for affordable housing projects with a maximum gross density of 20 dwelling units per acre. For density purposes, 9 dwelling units per acre would be 43 units. 20 dwelling units per acre would be 96 units. We are proposing 52 residential units, which are single-family semi-detached, and one detached unit. So this is 53 units, a gross density of 10.97 dwelling units per acre. The requested density increase is just under 2 dwelling units per acre, or 10 units overall. I want to point out again that this is going to be 100% affordable. But the Land Development Code, the way that the code is written, we can only talk about the first 25%. But I want to let you guys know that it's 100%. The surrounding area transitions from retail, office, residential, and Res 16 along US 41, and Res 9 and Res 6 along 30th Avenue West. This variety of housing density is supported by the comprehensive plan. The property is currently zoned Plan Development Residential. No plan is associated with the site. We are here today to request approval of a preliminary site plan and 2 specific approvals for the development of this project. There's a wide range of residential zoning districts in this area, including RSMH 6, RDD 6, RSF 6, and PDR. The proposed project, again, is 53 units on a single lot, which meets the definition of multifamily. The property is within the southwest TIF and the urban service area. Again, this is an infill site. So I have our color site plan today, and I wanted to talk about access. Is off of 30th Avenue West. We have a 24-foot wide internal drive providing access to the 53 units, 80 parking spaces, and amenity center. We also have shown emergency access connections shown to the south via a private road in the community. We've reached out to the adjacent property owner, and we're working to secure emergency service access only. With 53 units, we're not held to the 2 means of access, but we felt it important to have emergency access. 30th Avenue West between 26th Street and 14th Street is classified as an urban collector and requires a 22 to 25-foot variable width future right-of-way setback, which is shown on the plans, and behind that we have a 20-foot roadway buffer. We have a drainage ditch along the eastern property boundary, and adjacent to that, we have a 25-foot drainage easement proposed, and then a 15-foot landscape buffer. And so with these conditions narrowing that area, we are requesting a reduction of the 15-foot buffer along the western side of the property, along the north half. Let's see if I can get the mouse to point it out. Right along this area adjacent to Youth for Christ. We're asking for a 7-foot buffer, but we're offering to provide additional plantings for vehicle use area buffer, which is more restrictive than a typical 15-foot greenbelt buffer. We're also asking for a reduced buffer in this area of the north adjacent to the parking area. And again, we'll provide vehicle use plantings for that area where it's 6.6 feet instead of the 15. All other buffers meet or exceed the requirements of the Land Development Code. The second specific approval is a request to reduce parking from 2 spaces per unit plus 1 space per 10 units. The project design includes 80 parking spaces, which is 1.5 spaces per unit. The program for Hope Village will allow only 1 parking space per unit in their program agreement and lease. In special circumstances, they may offer a second space, but only in those special circumstances. And again, the residents of Hope Village will represent all affordable housing at the 50 to 80% annual median income and are at risk of homelessness. This project is designed to provide safe living conditions for parents with children that need an opportunity for change in circumstances. This reduction of parking request is in line with Land Development Code Section 545 for affordable housing, which allows for a 30% reduction in the parking. And to support this request, we also researched some of the surrounding counties and their affordable housing parking requirement, which was supportive of the 1.5 parking spaces per unit. The traffic impact statement has been approved by Manatee County. The PM peak hour trip generation is 43 trips, with 27 inbound and 16 outbound. And Section 545 of the code provides an opportunity for the applicant to request incentives, which are further detailed in the draft land use restriction. And those include rapid response. We did request hearing dates. We've asked for fee reimbursement. We've asked for assistance with the sidewalk location for Youth for Christ and Bethel Baptist Church, which do not have sidewalks. So we're working with Manatee County to coordinate that. We've asked for assistance with the Tree Protection Trust Fund, the density bonus to add 10 units to the site, and the 2 specific approvals outlined previously. Given the unique shape of the site and the infill nature of the property, the design followed the LDC requirements as strictly as possible with the buffers and the requirements that are outlined in the code. The project provides a sidewalk connectivity throughout and an optional pedestrian link to Bethel Baptist Church to the east across the creek. A playground is envisioned as part of the amenity center. Bicycle racks are included in two locations. Open space is provided at 61% or 2.97 acres of the 4.83 acre site, where only 1.2 acres is required by the Land Development Code. Utilities are available to the site. Stormwater design will require permitting from both Manatee County and the Southwest Florida Water Management District. The proposed affordable housing project is located within an urbanized area of Manatee County, near employment opportunities, shopping, transit routes, schools, and other services. And again, this is an infill project. It is consistent with the existing development pattern in the surrounding area. We've done as much as we can with the buffers to make sure that we're compatible with the multifamily that surrounds us and the adjacent religious institutions. And the application is compliant with the Land Development Code and consistent with the comprehensive plan. And we agree to all of the stipulations. We're seeking your recommendation today for the preliminary site plan. And my team and I are here to answer any questions you have.
Very good, thank you. With regard to the parking?
Yes.
Is the modification being done through this process, or is a separate parking study going to be required?
We actually did submit a parking study with the request for the reduction. So that should have been either part of the staff report or the agenda package.
Okay.
Question?
Yes?
And then also with regard, I noticed there wasn't any guest parking provided. Is there, what's the thought with not providing any guest parking?
Well, with us providing one space per unit, that would be 53 of the 80 parking spaces.
Okay.
So we actually would have guest parking.
Okay.
And we're really going to work to restrict the number of cars that are allowed. And again, these are people who are earning 50 to 80% of the annual median income. And it might be $20 an hour. So if they have 2 cars in their family, they are going to have to work with the community manager to make sure that they have that secured when they enter the program.
And you might have said it and I might have missed it, but public transportation, they're.
Quarter-mile away.
Okay, all right, thank you. And then I did notice in the PSP that there's an easement on the, I guess that would be the east side. Is that
Yes.
a conveyance or is it just a ditch, a drainage ditch?
It is a drainage conveyance ditch, and I'm sure Mr. Gerstenberger can help on that one later. But
County maintained?
it will be county maintained, yes.
And then the last question I had is the right-of-way to the south where the emergency access is connecting, is that a public right-of-way?
It is a private right-of-way, and it's been platted with their documentation, and we have reached out to them. We don't have everything formalized yet, but we will continue to work with them until it's done.
So should that not come to fruition, that doesn't impact the project because it's less than 100 units?
Correct.
So
We wanted to make sure that we did that. So if there is a change, if the easement is not granted, we will have to do a cul-de-sac or something else at the south to make sure that we have proper turning radiuses for the emergency vehicles.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yes.
Mr. Rutledge?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask, what is the estimated number of bedrooms you anticipate with this 54 units?
So we have, and I'm sorry, I don't have the printout in front of me for how many, I believe we have 29 two-bedrooms, and the remainder would be 24 one-bedrooms.
Okay, so no threes?
No, none.
Obviously, that correlates to the parking in my
Correct.
estimation. And then, do you have information from other housing projects like this about their parking ratios and how that's worked? I mean, it gives you some basis. You didn't just make up this number, obviously.
This is going to be the first one that Help to Home puts together, but they have been studying other similar projects
Right.
in Florida. There is one, I believe, in Melbourne, but I think that may have actually been an existing property. Didn't really get into all of the studies. What we did take time to research was other jurisdictional regulations.
Okay.
And so I believe it's Sarasota County allows 1.5 parking spaces per dwelling unit for affordable housing.
Okay.
So we did take a look at the other jurisdictions' requirements to support the request.
Have you gotten any neighborhood responses?
No, we did not do a neighborhood meeting.
So I love that somebody's doing this for us. I mean, in our community, I think it's just absolutely necessary. And I was at a crew presentation the other day where all the cities, Clearwater, Tampa, and St. Pete, are all struggling with this. And so I think this is an initiative that I'm going to be very supportive of, and I'm appreciative of a quality presentation. So thanks for that.
Thank you.
Very good. Mr. Ron?
Real quick, excuse me, real quick. Who again is going to be managing the process of, someone's going to come and want to live in this new project? Who is going to be managing that process again? And
They will-
and there will be a complete application process they have to go through?
They will, and what we'll have to do it then is also turn in that documentation to Manatee County on an annual basis so that they see that we verified their income levels. And really, they have to want to be part of this program because of the services that they're going to be asked to participate in. So I don't know, I don't have a draft of what that agreement would look like today, because we've been just trying to make sure that we get the site ready to go first. So they are going to go through a fundraising program and everything else, but they've been really researching other programs that have been successful around the state and around the country to identify what they need to do. So there will be a manager on site, a village coordinator, that is there to help answer questions and really help everyone on a daily basis. So they will be like an apartment manager, but for the specific program and facility, property. And we've worked really hard to try and make it so that these houses are facing each other, so that there's a sense of community and an uplifting of those residents that'll be there.
Thank you.
Very good. Any additional questions for the applicant? I do have just one follow-up question. A lot of times when we hear affordable housing represented, it's usually tied to the AMI. Is there a target with regard to these units, 40, 60, 80%?
50 to 80% AMI.
80%?
And,
Okay.
and what we're seeking to do is really find parents with children. So this is not a traditional, anybody can apply to live there. What we're doing is really seeking to help families.
Very good. And I think is a Laura?
Yes,
is
Allura will be
required?
forthcoming. Right now, we're tentatively scheduled for July 26th.
And Laura being a land use?
Land use restriction agreement, yes, thank you.
And that makes it affordable?
That ties it to a 20-year minimum. And if we ask for maybe more of the units to be incentivized, they could extend it longer.
Okay, very good.
So we're
Thank you.
still kind of in the process of,
I think that's important for folks to understand is that
yes,
there is
it will be a 20-year restriction that runs with the land for these 53 units for this specific program.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, we'll go ahead and go to staff presentation.
Thank you. Good morning, everybody. My name is Marshall Robinson. I'm a staff planner, as always. Ms. Layton did an excellent job on her presentation. She duplicated a lot of the information I have for everyone, so I apologize if I am redundant. But I did write down some of the questions, and I think we might be able to get some of those answered. Here's a location of the property. We talked about it on 30th Street. It already currently has its PDR zoning with the property. It's also in the southwest TIF and the urban service boundary. It's in the Res 9 future land use district, or future land use designation, and that As Rachel said, they could get by right 43 dwelling units gross, 77 net, and with the affordable housing, it goes up to 96 gross and 115 net. Here's the two parcels that Rachel talked about for the property. Here's some of the surrounding properties in the area. As Rachel mentioned, we are in an urban setting. It is an infill development. We have a mixture of uses, mixture of structure types. We have a couple of religious institutions on the left and right side, or the east and west side. We also have the water's edge of Bradenton, which is also a residential development. Here's another look at the property. You'll notice in the bottom picture there, the subject property is also within the 2-mile walking distance of Prine Elementary School. And again, the request is, they have a couple of specific approval requests for the buffers, and they also have one for the minimum parking requirements. And Chairman Conley, on the parking, we have a provision in the code that allows affordable housing some relief on the numerical requirement of parking, and we did take a look at that 30% adjustment that's afforded there. They're within that 30%, but we tagged it in and piggybacked a specific approval because we knew we could get an alternate parking study that mentions that 5.1 spaces per unit that you were speaking of. And seeing as how the write-up is requesting, for the development, they're only at 1 space per unit. So that other half space there is where they make up the guest parking and some of the extra parking there. Here's a look at the site plan. The access along 30th. In the green here flashes where the location of the 7-foot adjusted greenbelt buffer is on the west side of the parking, the drive aisle. Again, like Rachel said, these two areas here, while reduced in buffer width, they will be loaded up with the VUA planning schedule, which is more than the greenbelt requirements. This is a look at the density and the breakdown. We got the setbacks here. They have a 20-foot roadway buffer along 30th Avenue there, and they also provide 15-foot rear setbacks. And the side setbacks, they have 15 and a half feet off to the west and 16.8 off to the east. And they're also going to meet a 20-foot setback along with that 20-foot roadway buffer along the roadway. Here's the amenity center. I think it's about 1,250 square feet that's being proposed. There's the access along the south boundary location. We do have a stipulation in the staff report. It's stipulation A6. This says prior to FSP final site plan approval, the applicant shall submit a cross-access agreement with the adjacent landowner to the south in order to achieve the emergency access shown on the PSP. And then we also have, just to include that, we also have stipulation A5. It talks about for that 25% affordable housing benefit that we would need the LURA, or the land use restriction agreement, to be submitted. This is a breakdown of how the parking was calculated. Talked about the 30% reduction in the code. Also talked about the 1.5 alternate study that was submitted by the applicant. And we do have the affordable housing component of the project. I know we don't see a lot of affordable housing, so I asked the affordable housing from our Rio department to come today and maybe educate us all on affordable housing and some of the benefits that it brings and how it's applicable to this project. So I think, Rowena, here you go, Rowena, there you are. Come on up. Get to teach us about affordable housing today. This is great.
Good morning. If you could, please state your name and that you have been sworn.
Good morning, Denise Thomas. I am the Housing Community Development Manager for Community and Veteran Services. We're no longer REO, but we're happy to be here. I have with me Rowena Elliott, who is my Affordable Housing Coordinator. And we just want to come here to speak to this project. We are very excited about it.
You have been sworn?
No, we have not.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was on my roll. Pardon me.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you swear or affirm
Wait.
that the actual statements and representations you're about to make to the planning commission are truthful and
Yes, we are. Okay. Thank you. I am going to have Rowena come up and talk about the project. One thing I do want to share with you, they have spoken about the 25% requirement within the Land Development Code, but this particular project is also getting livable manatee, which is our impact fee program, where we pay 100% of the impact fee for a certain percentage of units, and this particular project is entitled to 50% of the units within the project that we will be incentivizing. So I'll let her go ahead and talk more regarding the project. And again, we're in total support and looking forward to it coming forward.
Good morning, everyone. Again, Rowena Elliott.
Good morning.
For the affordable housing, the Land Development Code 545.2, housing incentives, basically what that does is it comes with a resolution, which was done back in 2017. And what Livable Manatee does is provide incentives to developers who want to develop affordable housing in Manatee County. With that said, the 25% of the units that are the minimum requirement for affordable housing, we go above and beyond a little bit with the Livable Manatee portion of that. Livable Manatee actually does provide more than just the 25% on a basis of the funding, which there's a $500,000 maximum funding can be available for per project. So with this Hope Village Affordable Housing Development Project with the 53 units, you can only, with Livable Manatee, you can only incentivize up to 50% of the total development. And that comes with, based on the Livable Manatee portion, comes with a 20-year LORA. So if they would like to get 100% of their units affordable, it would be based on the Board of County Commissioners' discretion to approve that at this point. But Livable Manatee, in the business terms, basically go through the process. Livable Manatee is to encourage 25% affordable housing units within rental mixed income developments to establish efficient processes for customer use and services in the administration of the program. For the program requirements, rent cannot exceed the Florida Housing Finance Corporation maximums per bedroom count and income for household sizes. Mixed or low and moderate income units are encouraged, and for that, Hope Village does have 80% and below. So that's how it would be stated for the land use restriction agreement. As we stated before, only 50% of the allowed use. So if other developers would come in with something of 81% to 120% would be more likely workforce. The board and our department may not support that because we need affordability, which is 80% and below. So Hope Village does have that. The maximum total incentive, as we stated before, is only $500,000. So it could be lower than that just based on the number of units. In their project, 27 units would be incentivized at this point, which is why they would be at the 20-year land use restriction agreement.
I want to reiterate what Rowena has said. The Livable Manatee terms were established by the Board of County Commissioners, and only they can change it. So we are set at the 50%. However, if the board at their discretion decide to, we have quite a few projects, about 7 or 8 projects that are 100% affordable. So if they change that, that will have to affect any projects that are 100%. Right now, we hold to the 50% and we utilize that with every project we do, but the board can make a change if they choose to. I know they're looking at waiver impact fees and so forth, but that has not come forth yet. So right now, we're actually paying those impact fees prior to CO administratively, so nothing comes out of the developer pocket. So this is a great incentive that bring developers, and that's why we have so many developments coming forward because of what we offer within Manatee County to incentivize developers. Just to give you an idea, Hope Village is doing 80% and below. If you look at a one-person household, that maximum income is $48,350 for the household. If it was two-person household, it's $55,250, and a three-person household is $62,150. So looking at the wage levels today, there are quite a number of people that would fall into this category and definitely need the housing. So the state increased our income levels over this past year by about $2,000. So we have a broader range of individuals that we can serve. So we have no doubt that any of these projects we bring forth will probably rent up before they can even open the doors. But we are excited about it. We need it. We need more affordable housing. Any questions?
Is the dollar amount, is that tied to the household or to individuals?
It's tied to the household,
Okay, thank you.
total household.
Mr. Rutledge?
So thanks for what you're doing for us. I think we really has struggled with what happens for homelessness, and I think this is the bridge to try and stay away from it, so thanks for that.
Yes.
Do you have enough money?
Well, it depends on if you give it to me, but
Hey,
right now,
he's got all the money.
right now, because this project is located in the TIF, the Tides Increment Finance area, we can utilize TIF funds. And there is quite a bit of funds there that we can utilize that actually supplants the livable manatee. Instead of using the livable manatee pot, we can use the TIF pot. So we do have the funds for the project. We have made administration aware of the number of projects coming forward and as well as the projection of how much is going to be needed in order to incentivize these projects.
And that was kind of what I was curious about, is I have heard people say that the housing program has not been funded consistently and as aggressively as maybe it could have been or should have been. And I just want to make sure that you have the opportunity to say how many projects you could exercise if the capital was there. In other words, it's one thing if we don't get developers, but it's something else if we're not standing by with the resources and support to exercise the opportunity. And that's kind of my question.
Well, I'm so glad you asked that question, because we happen to have a sheet that can tell you how many developments we have in the queue and a projection of how many developments are in the TIF area, not in the TIF area, and the projected amount of incentive if we incentivize everyone at the level of the $500,000. I'll let Rowena talk to that.
Okay, so currently, we have 17 active projects.
Wow.
We have 17 active projects. We have 9 projects that are 100% affordable, and these are at the 4% tax credit rate right now. We have 9 new projects that just came in, and that's during the application designation process that I'm still working on. And there are, right now, we're looking at about almost $10 million that would go out based on the number of units right now at CO for these projects.
What is the number of units for those, all of those projects?
For the total affordable projects, total number of units, we have about 3,500.
Okay.
And total number of affordable units, 1,868 right now.
Good job.
Very good, thank you.
Good job.
So, majority of these projects are located in the Southwest TIF, and that's a great thing because there are additional incentives there to possibly help these projects. Hope Village specifically also is located in the Community Development Block Grant area of poverty, so we are able to utilize some of that funding for sidewalk connectivity based on the request of the school board. So that process will go through the Public Works Department.
Can I just say that I'm proud to be part of Manatee County with you all working for us. That's great stuff. Thank you very much.
Feels like I've been here 5 years, but I've only been here 6 months.
Very,
So,
very good. Any additional questions for staff? Very good, thank you. Thank you very much. Mr. Robinson, was there anything further?
Marshall Robinson, staff planner. Yeah, I'm glad Rowena brought up the CDBG opportunities for the sidewalks. I failed to mention that. As a part of the FSP review, the applicant will work with Public Works and whatever funding mechanisms they have for sidewalk construction at that time. And that's the only other thing I wanted to include.
Very good. Thank you very much. With that, we're going to go ahead and open this up for public comment. Is there anybody in the audience who wishes to come forward and make a comment regarding this application? Anyone at all? Okay, seeing no one come forward, we're going to close the public comment portion of the hearing and staff closing comments? Nothing further? Applicant, rebuttal? Or closing comments?
I'm just going to give a closing comment because this has been such a journey trying to get this project, and the staff has just been amazing. Sitting on as many affordable housing committees as I've been on the last few years, this is just such an important project for me personally. I'm so appreciative. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you very much. All right, with that, we're going to close the public hearing and open it up for discussion, deliberation, or the chair will consider a motion.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Rowan.
I'm very happy to make this motion, and I'm very thankful that the applicant and staff have brought this forward. This is something that this county needs, and we all know it. We all know that it's needed, and thank you guys very much. So with that, based upon the staff report, evidence presented, comments made at the public hearing, and finding the request to be consistent with the Manatee County Comprehensive Plan, the Manatee County Land Development Code, as stipulated herein, I move to recommend adoption of Manatee County zoning ordinance number PDR 2121P as recommended by staff.
Thank you. We have a motion. Is there a second? Mr. Smock, second. Any additional discussion? All right, chair's going to call the matter to vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Chair votes aye. Motion passes 6-0 with Mr. DeLesline being absent. All right, very good. Thank you very much. All right, we're going to go on to the next item on the agenda. Item number 2. Ms. Lidar, can you please read item number 2 into the record?
Item number 2, PDMU 1613 GR2 OHM Third Development LLC. Jitin Patel is the owner. Factory Shops Apartment. It's a quasi-judicial case amending the general development plan, allowing for an additional development option on more or less 7.86 acre site. Previously approved option A permits medium-intensity recreational use with a movie theater, 50,000 square feet, a hotel containing 330 rooms, and associated commercial uses for 100,000 square feet. This amendment, options B, which permit 235 multifamily units in a single 4-story building with associated infrastructure, with at least 25% of the units designated as affordable housing. The site is generally located in the northwest corner of 60 Avenue East and Factory Shop Boulevard, and commonly known as 5939 25th Street East, Factory Shop Boulevard, Ellenton, Manatee County. The case manager is Ms. Dorothy Rainey, and here for the applicant is Mr. Stephen Wash.
Good morning.
And I am not Stephen Gouache, sorry. I forgot to tell you, Rosina. I'm going to introduce Stephen Gouache.
Okay.
My name is Leslie Gladfelter, and I'm with Grimes Galvano. And I've been sworn, and
Thank
just
you.
so you know, I'm here today filling in for my law partner, Caleb Grimes, who is unavoidably detained in France because he tested positive for COVID. I'm just putting that
bad
out
place
there
to be
because
tested
we're all,
positive.
but he's not sick, so I'm just putting that all out there so we can all feel sorry for him. And I think I said that I've been sworn, and I'm a resident of Hillsborough County.
Thank you.
We're pleased to represent the applicant and contract purchaser of this project, this defined development. Our firm is working with them on other projects. We really like them and their enthusiasm and their work. They're currently constructing an apartment building just north of University Parkway near US 301 that includes affordable housing units. Briefly, and then I'll defer to Stephen Gouache, who is principal and owner of Defined Development, who will introduce his team and make a presentation to you. His other partners who are here are Eben Mentha and Noan Leon. Brief history, as Rosina mentioned in her intro, this project's located at the entrance to the Ellerton Outlet Mall. Its current zoning is PDMU, and it has an approved GDP for retail, hotel, and a movie theater. The revised GDP that we're requesting will allow for an option B, to allow for multifamily residential, which, as you will hear, is planned for an upscale apartment development with 25% affordable housing units. And as everyone knows, there's a great need for apartments near commercial, and this is a great mixed-use area. Now I'm pleased to introduce Stephen Gouache.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. It's definitely a pleasure to be here. Thank you for your time. Definitely want to start off by saying it's been a great experience with Manatee County thus far and the staff. Got an opportunity today to meet everybody, more specifically affordable housing folks. I haven't shook your hand today, but nice to see you guys in the crowd. They've been a pleasure to work with, Denise and Rowena, and of course, Rosina and Dorothy Rainey as well. Been a pleasure helping us facilitate the process, so thank you, everybody.
If you could, please state your name and that you have been sworn for the record.
I have been sworn. My name is Stephen Gouache. I am co-founder and principal at Defined Companies. I'm one of the development partners on the project.
Very good. Thank you.
No problem. So I'll give you a quick overview of our project. We'll let Rosina and Dorothy get into the specifics as it pertains to code. But as it was mentioned, the current project or the location has a approval in place, the current GDP, for commercial uses. Our proposal here is to add an alternate use as option B for the multifamily. Currently, multifamily is not allowed. The current land use is a PDMU, which is a mixed use, and under that code, you do allow affordable housing and also an increased density. So given that this was part of an existing planned development at the Ellington factory shops, and I'll get into that, it satisfies the condition for the increased density, but we're understanding the need in the market for the affordable housing, and the rates are increasing through the roof as being mentioned here today. So for us, it's our gesture also to help the community with in the workforce per se. So our proposal here is to add just an optional use for multifamily as option B. Our project description, we're proposing 235 units. 59 of those will be classified as affordable. It is under the 120% AMI, but it will be served to focus on the workforce. Our local heroes, law enforcement, first responders, nurses, et cetera. This is a unique location. We'll get into the site itself in a second, but it does provide an opportunity to have a high-end product with rents that are affordable for the community and where everybody can thrive together. We're proposing 341 surface parking spaces for the vehicles. Our design is very contemporary, and we're also providing resort-style amenities. So it's not just a place to rent, it's also a place where you can call home. This is just a general overview of our plan, of our option B plan. You'll see a surface parking around the single building, 4-story structure there. We have massive amenities and also an expansive courtyard where we have our pool deck and all the nice amenities for our residents. We have the appropriate buffers around the property, kind of screen the roads on 60th and Factory Shop. I'll show the location here shortly. And also provide, of course, luscious landscape for the views and help promote the living experience at the property. So parking, with the affordable housing program, we're allowed to reduce our required parking count by 30%, which brings us to 345 spaces. The site has some constraints on it, so we're working through those, and staff has been a pleasure to help coordinate those and facilitate those requirements. We are currently proposing 341 spaces, so it is a specific approval request for a reduction of 4 additional spaces. We did provide a traffic study. It's the Institute of Traffic Engineers for Affordable Housing for Mid-Rise Comparable Properties, that their analysis recommends 308 total spaces. So the deviation from our plan is about 37 spaces, in addition to what the ITE actually recommends. So we're only 4 spaces short at 341 spaces, where the ITE recommends 308 spaces for comparable properties with affordable housing designations. Just a quick aerial view of the property and location. It is located in the PDMU in the master plan community of the Ellington Premium Shops. So it provides a really unique experience to provide some high-end residential to help facilitate the current shops, the business owners, and they could thrive off of each other. I think it's a win-win scenario for, residents of Manatee County, of course, the local business owners. There's a site plan superimposed, so you see how it ties into the current plan and provides that real, or emphasizes the live and play experience where you can live at your property, walk down to the shops, shop, eat at the restaurants, and of course, vice versa. So when people hear affordable housing, sometimes they feel that that designation lacks quality. And some folks worry about what the product is going to be. Rest assured, there is no compromise in quality. We're focusing on providing high-quality, attainable products, and this is demonstrated in the project that we're actually working down the street. We're close to having site plan approval, and we look to put shovels in the ground hopefully in September of this year. And this property here is located off University Parkway and just east of the 301. We're close to getting approvals here. There's 180 units, a 5-story structure, and the design intent is very similar. We're going with the West Indies, very high-end feel, resort-style amenities, really creating a destination for the community. This also has 25% affordable housing designation on it as well, so very similar kind of product type that we're proposing. Just give you a view of our exterior elevation. Really focus on the details. Well, we love the architecture and we like the design, and we're very prideful of what we're proposing in the county, and it's kind of demonstrated through our finished product there. This is the comparable project that we're working on that's going to be relative to this one here, just as an example. This is our main lobby and leasing when you walk into the community. So you can see it has that resort-style feel as soon as you open the doors, where it's not just an apartment community. Somewhere where you rest your head. It's actually a home, a designation. So when someone opens the door, they're going to get this experience that just doesn't exist currently in the county. The outdoor lounge and kitchen, we're again focusing on the Class A, really high-end finishes and amenities, and of course, with the affordable housing destination, it allows our residents to enjoy all these thrills at a lower rate than most communities. Some indoor, outdoor gaming areas. This ties into the pool deck. You can see there's the pool table, some foosball, out there outside where people can hang out, go out to the pool. It's kind of a nice transition from the in to the out. These are comparable designs for finished products that exist in the area that we've actually worked on from personal experiences, just to kind of illustrate the quality and intent of what we're proposing here. Very similar to the renderings as far as layout. There's the fitness center. We're also providing private offices and workspace, especially with the code factor coming into play and everything being more interactive and online. We're providing numerous office spaces that are both rent and also open to the public who are just renting there in period. So they have a unique opportunity to rent at the property, have a lower rate, and also be able to share in these office spaces and do their work from home. Kind of a thought of the outdoor lounge there. A look at the interior unit design. Very high-end finishes, very elegant. Not all units, but I would say about 50% of the units do have private balconies, so they'll have the views and nice features to go outside to the balcony. Bedroom. Of course, the washroom. And thank you, everybody, for your time. You have any questions?
Very good. Thank you. I have just a couple questions. What is the height that's being proposed? I think the example you showed might have been 5 or 6 stories.
Correct. That was the comparable property. That one's 5-story. We're proposing 4-story on this.
Stories?
location.
Okay. All right. And then are you proposing, or has staff asked you to provide an alternative parking plan in support of the parking reduction?
We submitted the ITE generation study. In addition to that, we have an analysis we prepared for comparable properties in the area that actually have lower rates.
Okay. And then the last question I have is the units that are going to be designated affordable, are their finishings going to be comparable to the ones that were shown?
Identical.
Identical?
No, when I say identical, let me take that back. It's a very similar in the design intent, very high-end. So just because the units are being allocated as affordable, the design does not change within the different units in the property. They're all going to be high-end to that caliber.
Very good, thank you.
problem.
Any additional questions for the applicant? Ms. Kiva?
Would the unit sizes also be comparable to the market rate, the workforce housing units? Similar unit sizes?
Yes, we're allocating all our units to the one-bedrooms.
Oh, they're all going to be one
They're going to be
bedroom?
one-bedrooms, that is correct.
And is there mass transit available to the site?
Yes, there is a public, where the bus stop is literally 450 feet away from the project site.
Great, thank you.
Mr. Ron?
Thank you. Good morning.
Morning.
Thank you, one, for bringing your affordable housing project forward. Real quick question on traffic. 60th Avenue is kind of a disaster. Are you aware of any road improvements going to go on that to ease the traffic? I was there the other night, and it was pretty heavy trafficked. Are you adding these other units, or your option B, are you aware of any road improvements going to go? Are you bringing any road improvements to that, turn lanes?
Absolutely.
Road widening or anything, right-of-way widening or anything like that?
Yeah, so again, staff has been a pleasure to work with. We've been, hand in hand working with the future roadway plans. So they're currently about a 60 to 90% state as far as where the current plan set is. So there are plans to improve 60th more specifically, actually create a 4-lane road within 60th. No problem.
Very good.
Give me an idea what the
Mr.
rates might be.
Oh, you gotta,
Could you give me an idea of what the rental rates might be?
Absolutely. Under the affordable housing, the 120% AMI, the cap for the bedrooms with today's limits was $1934, if I'm not mistaken. 1944. Where our rents are being set lower than that, however. Our starting rents for the one-bedroom start in the 1700s.
good. Mr. Rutledge?
What's the estimated square footage of the one-bedrooms? Are they all the same? Are there studio one-bedrooms or all one?
They're all one-bedrooms. They range from 600 square feet on average to about 850 in that range.
And access to the adjacent parcel to the west, to the outlets, I know that there was at one time an access point. Is there an access point designed to go into the outlets parking field?
So there's going to be pedestrian connectivity from our site into the shops, of course, but we have access on 60th, and we also have an access on Factory Shops Boulevard.
So you've maintained the access on 60th to the east?
Correct. 60th is a secondary entry. Our main entrance is going to be on Factory Shops. But there is no direct entrance from our site to the parking lot on the shops.
Okay. And on the amenities, can you tell me approximately the square footage of the recreation gym area or the common areas that are being made available, just estimate?
Yeah, not counting the pool and the courtyard, because that's all open green space.
Right.
We have about 6,800 square feet under air of amenities.
How much?
6,800.
Okay.
Mr. Roth?
Can you break out how many one-bedroom, two-bedroom, and three-bedroom?
Oh, absolutely. Just give me 1 second. I have that right here. So we have 132 one-bedrooms, which is about 56% of the unit mix. We have 87 two-bedrooms, 37% of the unit mix. And we have 16 three-bedrooms, 7% of the mix.
All right, very good. Any additional questions for the applicant? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to go to staff presentation.
Good morning. Dorothy Rainey for staff, and I have been sworn.
Thank you.
And I know Stephen covered most everything, but as he mentioned, I'll go over the planning issues. So, is there a clicker or? Oh, there it is. Okay. Sorry. Okay, so Factory Shops Apartments is the project before you today, and the request is approval of an amendment to the previously approved general development plan to add the option B for the 235-unit multifamily project to be contained within one 4-story building with the associated infrastructure and amenities. The original approved GDP was for the option A, as was discussed by the applicant, which included the 50,000 square feet for a movie theater, 330-room hotel, and 120,000 square feet of commercial uses. The site information, basically, one parcel, 7.86 acres. It's already zoned planned development mixed use, and it's in the mixed use future land use category. And it's in the coastal planning area overlay, as well as the entranceway. The land's currently vacant. The future land use, there it is, mixed use, as is most everything to the west and south. The zoning, again, PDMU, just like everything to the north and west, and a lot of PDC to the south and east. There's the aerial site. It appeared to have been some sort of tree crop in the past. So there's the option A that was shown. I believe the inverted L on the northwest corner is most likely the hotel. The southeast corner was the retail, and then the 50,000 square feet, that little square is the theater site. It was approved again for 330-room hotel, the 50,000 square feet for the theater, and 120,000 square feet retail. Had 2 access points, the same as the option B. There's option B, and it is shown, again, with the same access points. The building is sort of I guess it's a U shape with the courtyard containing the swimming pool and outdoor amenities, and then the area in red is indicated to be the indoor amenities and the workout center and all that good stuff. So again, it's going to have the 235-unit 4-story building, the amenity feature in the building, as well as the swimming pool. The stormwater was shown at the northeast corner of the site. The 2 access points are the same as for option A, one off 60th Avenue. I'm not real sure if it's right in, right out. It was kind of hard to tell, but, and then the factory shops access on the south property line appears to be a full access. Surrounding uses to the north is the PDMU zoned vacant land. To the south is Factory Shops Boulevard, and then there's a lot of PDC zoned commercial uses south of the boulevard. On the east side is 60th Avenue East, of course, and then PDR zoned residential subdivision, Bougainvillea Place, and a PDC zoned shopping center, the North River Village. And then to the west is PDMU zoned commercial retail, the Ellington Premium Outlets themselves. There's specific approvals being requested. The one, the applicant, Stephen went over that in pretty much very detailed information on that. The other 2 are regarding the perimeter greenbelt buffer. They'd like to do like a variable width one along the west property line. It's going to average 11.4 feet, so anywhere from 8.2 to 28.9 feet. The positive aspects of this project are that it's utilizing existing property with the mixed-use future land use and the PDMU zoning to develop a residential infill project. Negatives, it's staff's opinion that there are really no negative aspects of this proposal. And there's no mitigating measures necessary because of that. And we conclude that the approval of the amendment to the previously approved GDP and the specific approvals with stipulations are in compliance with both the comprehensive plan and the land development code. That's it. Thank you.
Very good. Any questions for staff? Mr. Roth?
Has there been any, I don't know what the right word is. There is a brook that runs around this property. Is that an active brook, and do we need to do anything about it?
That's Government Hammock Drain, I believe, and it's being treated as a perennial stream and a wetland, so there's a required wetland buffer to be provided, and they are providing the full buffer, and there won't be any impacts to it, obviously, so I believe that's the only wetland associated with the site.
And there'll be no flooding on that property because of the brook that surrounds it?
That's, yeah, that's always the requirement through fulfilling any stormwater requirements for the site. I can't speak to the details of all that, and of course, it's a GDP, so there's not a lot of detail yet. They haven't had to provide I don't think the stormwater calculations and that sort of thing.
I'd be better assured if Mr. Gerstenberger was in the room. I'm sorry to say. Is he here? No, he's not. Okay.
He'd be in
All
his watchful.
all you have to do is say his name 3 times and he appears.
Otherwise, in his absence, maybe the applicant's staff, somebody, or maybe even the environmental person can speak a little bit to that, because it's sort of related.
We'll table that until a little bit later, yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I asked the question.
All right. Any, I'll
Oh, yeah, I have one more.
Mr. Roth. Yep.
Can you tell me how many units of houses are north of this property? There's a property going up north that's not there now, that's going to exit onto 60th. There was quite a bit of to do when we discussed it originally. So how many units are going to be coming out of there? Do we know?
If it's on my staff report table of nearby projects that have been approved recently, it would say how many units. Maybe Rosina can find it.
Mr. Roth, I think you're referring to an apartment community just to the
No,
north.
I think it's a housing community.
If my memory is working, it's a apartment complex that includes some commercial development. I have to find the approval and give you the information exactly, but give me a second. It's to the north of this property.
Yeah, to the north.
Has been approved, but we have a final site plan that has not been approved, and they come back with another option, but it's a community for multifamily, but give me a second to find the information exactly.
What I'm getting at is a traffic study that's going to tell us about all of the traffic that's going to be let out on 60th.
And also when Mr. Gerstenberger comes up and
Here.
discusses the government.
Clapped our hands, and here he is.
We'll also dovetail a question regarding the improvements on 60th. I thought I saw somewhere there's also roundabouts going in this area.
Good morning. For the record, Thomas Gerstenberger, Public Works Department. I've been sworn. Good morning, Mr. Chair, fellow commissioners. With respect to the questions that were raised about stormwater for this particular area, and I think it's already been alluded to, there is a drainage system that's running along the northern boundary of this particular project, which is known as Government Hammock. It's essentially a smaller watershed that collects runoff in this area anywhere from Mendoza. So as far as like a Willow Walk or Cover Bridge, they all drain down through this area and ultimately out into the Manatee River. That being said, and what I have on the overhead right now is the latest flood insurance rate maps. And for this particular area, it's a compilation of both the 2014 firm and the 2021 firm. There is also a county 25-year floodplain delineation, but it's essentially within the banks, within confines of the drainage system itself. It does not affect, or there is no floodplain impacts that are proposed with this proposed development. Otherwise, the project would be providing attenuation of runoff either by means of open water detention or through stormwater vaults. And at this time, I'll be happy to address any further questions the Planning Commission has.
So what you're saying is, if we put in apartments, they won't be flooded?
Correct. You got it. You hit the nail right on the head, Commissioner.
Very good. And Mr. Gerstenberger, regarding proposed improvements on 60th, and I think maybe even on, was that 301? Is there roundabouts going in? I thought I've seen something either from DOT or maybe from the county that had a couple.
Yeah. I'll yank him up here and give you more detail on the road improvements.
Good. Very good. And also just a clarification of where it is in the process. I believe it was stated, but maybe expectation of when these improvements are going to be constructed. Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning. Mehdi Wahid from Transportation Planning, and I have been sworn in.
Thank you.
Regarding the improvement on 60th, your question was whether a roundabout was being
I
proposed.
thought I saw a detailed plan that included improvements on 301 at some point.
I'm not aware of any improvement, but there are some planned improvement on 60th, and I think the applicant mentioned to widen it to 4 lanes up to Mendoza.
And this
And
is a
then
capital project?
Correct. Yeah, and it's 90% design, and there are also planned as well new 2-lane from Mendoza to the southern terminus of 69th, which will create some kind of parallel reliever to kind of route traffic. So there is this possibility also to relieve some of the congestion that are seen in the area.
Very good. Any additional questions related to transportation? With regard to 90% approval, on the plans, 90% plans, what's the expected timeline with regard to construction and then completion? Is there a period of time where funding might be a consideration before it goes under construction? Has that been contemplated?
The last I checked, I think this was funded, and the construction year, I don't have it, but I can quickly check and get back to you.
Okay, I was just wondering if there had been a determination regarding the potential timeline for construction, so I don't know that it's relevant for this point, but thank you.
Thank you.
Any additional questions for staff?
For clarification.
Yes, ma'am.
The project that was approved to the north is a Spring of Ellenton, and it's approved for 348 multifamily units and 125,000 of commercial space. And like it says, I know there was a final site plan, and it's not approved, and I think there is a new one that has been provided, but it's under revision. It's not approved yet. This was approved by the board, but no final site plan.
Okay.
So quickly, is that another 400 or 500 units that are going in north of this? Just give me the two numbers and I'll hit them.
348 multifamily units.
Okay, and what else? That's it?
And 125,000 of commercial, but
Square
like-
footage,
yes.
340. All right, thank you.
All right, very good. Any additional questions for staff? Okay, thank you very much. With that, we're going to go to the public comment portion of the hearing. So if there's anybody in the audience who wishes to come forward and make a statement regarding this application, please come forward. Okay, seeing no one come forward, you have to come up. You can't speak from your seat. Are you part of the applicant team also? That's not the time for that, so. Generally speaking, the applicant speaks, all parties in the applicant team speak when designated, but this is for public comment. So is there anybody else? Okay, seeing no one come forward, we're going to close the public comment portion of the hearing. And we'll open it up to staff closing comments. And now applicant closing comments, rebuttal, and that would be an opportunity for you to provide any additional information.
So I know there was a little concern about traffic. I just wanted to come up here and just kind of put that one out.
Yeah.
We did a quick traffic generation study about the rates with the current uses in our option A for all the commercial versus the proposed multifamily, and the traffic generation rates are pretty alarming. So under option A, with all the uses combined, they're expecting 13,344 new daily trips. When we go down to the multifamily proposal, we're only 1,067. So that's a 12,277 trip difference from the option A to option B, which is a reduction of over 92% on the traffic system if option A were to actually be built. Really appreciate everybody's time here, and again, everybody's been a pleasure to work with, and look forward to providing another high-quality community in Manatee County. Thank you, everybody.
Very good. Thank you very much. With that, we're going to close the public hearing, and we'll open it up for a motion, discussion, deliberation. What's the pleasure of the board?
Mr. Chair, I'll go ahead and make the motion.
Mr. Ron.
Again, we're excited anytime affordable housing is brought forward for the Planning Commission, so thank you very much. Based upon the staff report, evidence presented, comments made at the public hearing, and find the request to be consistent with the Manatee County Comprehensive Plan, the Manatee County Land Development Code as stipulated herein. I move to recommend adoption of Manatee County zoning ordinance number PDMU 1613 GR2 as recommended by staff.
Very good. We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Ms. Keva, second. Any discussion, deliberation, any additional information? All right, hearing nothing, the chair is going to call the matter to vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Chair votes aye. Motion passes 6-0. Thank you very much. All right, next item is item number 3. Ms.
Item number 3 is C-2110, Sion Property Rezone, Sia and Mali Sion owners. It's a rezone of more or less 3.38 acres located south of I-275 and Hightower Road and east of the 5th Avenue West on the north side of 77th Street in Terracea, from PDR Coastal High Hazard Area, Planned Development Residential Coastal High Hazard Overlay District, to the RSF1 Single Family Residential retaining the Coastal High Hazard Overlay Area. The case manager is a quasi-judicial case. The case manager is Mr. Bill O'Shea, and hereby the applicant is Mr. Smith.
All right, with regard to this, we have items 3, 4, 5, and 6 are all presentations upon request. I have speaker cards for 3 and 4, so we're going to get a presentation on those. The other items, what we'll do is we'll get it read into the record, and I'll ask the commissioners if there's anything that they wish to hear on specifically, and we'll focus the discussion on those matters that are need clarification. In addition, before you start, Mr. Schmidt, I need to correct some things that I failed to do previously. So for the commissioners, on item number 1, were there any ex parte communications to be disclosed?
None.
Okay, I had none either. On item number 2, were there any ex parte communications that need to be disclosed?
No.
No.
All right, and on this item, item number 3, are there any ex parte communications to be disclosed? No. Okay, all right, very good, sorry. Good morning,
Thank you,
Mr. Schmidt.
Chair. Good morning. For the record, my name is Bob Schmidt, and I have been sworn. I'm a land planner, a local land planner, and I was asked by my client who is here, Mr. Sai Shang, and he talked to me initially after they did a pre-application meeting, and there were 2 options to do what he wants to do, and I'll explain briefly what he wants to do. This essentially is just a family piece of property that they want to split in half to build 2 future single-family homes. So we could have either kept the property zoned PDR and gone through a general development plan, site plan process, and under PDR that requires focal points and landscape buffers and so on and so forth, not really intended for a simple little lot split like this. There is only a pole barn on the property now, which I think is likely to stay, but there will be a, Mr. Shang and his wife will live in one house, and then their children will live in another. I read Bill's staff report, and he did a real good job of explaining how this got to PDR, because I wasn't sure. But the proposal here is just to change it to RSF1 so that they can do the certified lot split and not have to go through the site plan public hearing process. I can show a couple maps and go into details, but I don't know that that's necessary in a presentation upon request. So.
No, and I apologize. I mentioned that this item needed a full presentation because I had a speaker card. It's actually items 4 and 5 that have the speaker card.
Oh,
so
okay.
We're good with the explanation. I'll ask the Planning Commission, do you need a full presentation?
No.
Very good.
Okay,
So,
I'll answer any questions if you have.
sufficient explanation. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. O'Shea, do you have anything you wanted to add? Again, this is presentation upon request. I don't know that we need any additional information, but just with regard to the information provided, is there anything that you feel is warranted for the record?
Good morning, Mr. Chair, Planning Commissioners. For the record, Bill O'Shea with Development Services, and I have been sworn. I think if that's all you need for your discussion purposes, I'm fine with that. If you have any questions, I'm here to answer those as well.
Very good. Thank you very much. And we're going to go ahead and open this up for public comment. Is there anybody in the audience who wishes to come forward and speak on this application? Anyone at all? Okay, seeing no one come forward, I'm going to close public comment and ask Obviously, staff probably doesn't want to add anything additional. Mr. Schmidt, do you have any closing comments? Okay, we're going to close the public hearing and open it up for discussion. I think this is one of the things that we see quite frequently where something just kind of ended up in a condition that isn't appropriate for the property, and it's a correction. So what's the pleasure of the commission?
I'd like to make a motion.
Mr. Smock.
Based upon the staff report, evidence presented, comments based on public hearing, finding request be consistent with Manatee County Comprehensive Plan and the Manatee County Land Development Code, I move to recommend adoption of the Manatee County zoning ordinance number Z-21-10.
Very good. We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Ron, second. Any discussion? All right, call the matter to vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Chair votes aye. Motion passes 6-0. Thank you very much. All right, item number 4. Again, this is it's a presentation upon request, but I have speaker cards, so we'll have a little bit more information presented on this one. So, Ms. Lidar, can you please read item number 4 into the record?
Yes, item number 4, PDR 2118P, Creekside at Rootland Ranch, Creekside Development of Manatee, LLC. Is a quasi-judicial case, a preliminary site plan for 95 single-family detached homes and associated infrastructure for property zone PDR, Plan Development Residential, on more or less 3171 acres, generally located on the north side of County Road 675, more or less 2 miles and 3/4 from the US 301 and commonly known as 15714 County Road 675 Parish. The case manager is Ms. Laura Gonzalez, and representing the applicant is Mr. Scott Rudisill.
Very good, thank you. For the commissioners, have there been any ex parte communications regarding this application?
No.
Okay, hearing none. Mr. Rudisill, if you could please introduce your application.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And for the record, I'm Scott Rudisill. I have been sworn, and I'm here on behalf of the applicant. We do have a brief presentation prepared that we can run through. This is our project team. We have Casey Krauser here with Oak Development Group. Andrew Island is the project engineer with Langen. And then Michael Razor is our traffic consultant. So this is the project site. It is located on the north side of County Road 675. So closer up shot, you can see there on the southern portion of the site, there's a vegetated creek that runs through the project. This is a development trends map for that area, just to kind of show some of the projects that have been coming through in the surrounding area. You've got the aviary, which is relatively close to this project to the east, Rye Ranch further east, and then Salt Meadows, Parish Plantation. So a number of projects in recent years coming in this area. Site's in the UF3, future land use category. And the site is zoned PDR. It was rezoned to PDR in 2009, but that preliminary site plan has expired. So what's before you today is not a rezoning request. It is just a preliminary site plan approval. This is the site plan for the project. It is a preliminary site plan for 95 single-family detached lots, which is just under the maximum density of 3 units to the acre for that area. As I mentioned, there's a vegetated creek that runs through the middle of the project. That area is being preserved and incorporated into the open space along the front portion of the site. So the result of that is that the nearest lot is almost 600 feet from County Road 675. The buffering exceeds code requirements on all sides. It is a 30-foot roadway buffer that's proposed, 20-foot perimeter buffer all the way around the project. The open space greatly exceeds the minimum standards. It's proposing 37% open space. And you can see one amenity somewhat unique here. There's a essentially an open field that's proposed in the middle of the project, just a play field with some access walkways there. So that's really it as far as the project. We do have 3 letters of support from adjoining property owners that are in the record. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Rudisil. I have a question related to process. So there's an existing PDR ordinance,
Yes, that's correct.
and nothing is being modified in that ordinance?
Well, no, this is a totally new project in terms of the plan and the stipulations, so none of those stipulations from the prior approval are applicable. We proposed all new stipulations and plan.
Okay, so it's consistent with the current land development code and the
That's
current
correct.
comprehensive plan? Okay, all right. Just wanted to make sure I understood that. So,
Yep.
thank you. Any additional questions for the applicant? Very good, thank you. All right. I think, I don't know that we need staff presentation, but I do have speaker cards. So I would like to talk to the folks who have an interest in this application and understand what the concerns are. So,
Commissioner,
yes, ma'am.
before, I would like to clarify that the previous preliminary site plan expired. Any of these stipulations are applicable.
so technically, there's a zoning that can't be utilized.
It is the PDR zoning, and they have to come back with this, that is a new preliminary site plan.
Very good. But because it's expired, it's open to all new
Yes.
the compliance with the current land
Yes,
development code. and
comply with the
compre-
correct,
Right.
with the current regulations.
Very good. Thank you very much. All right. The first speaker card I have is Wendy Rowland. If you could come forward, state your name and that you have been sworn.
Good morning. My name is Wendy Rowland, and I have been sworn.
Thank you very much.
I am an adjacent property owner, having lived out there a little over 20 years. And the beautiful tree-lined driveway that is on the, I believe, the west side of this piece of property is my driveway. I would say the neighbors and I, the primary concerns that we have voiced is water. As development has continued to the east of our property, the water continues to stand on our properties that are to the west. The front of this property, again, having lived out there over 20 years, is consistently underwater from July, at least through September. And in the phone conference that we had about, I don't know if that was about a month ago, they assured us about the retention ponds at the front, which is the part that flows to the Gamble Creek and is consistently underwater. And they said that the water would be released when necessary. I'm concerned about where it's going to be released. Is it going to flow south to the appropriate ditches and waterways that will take it down to Gamble Creek? Is it just going to flow over my driveway and my neighbor's driveway and sit as it has continued? That's probably the biggest concern that I have. Secondly would be the entryway. We have been told that there will be a turn lane heading to the east, and if so, that would probably be directly in front of my driveway when I prepare to turn out. I'm concerned about the disruption to my driveway and my neighbors, again, that will be right there. The road frontage of this property and project is small. It's not a whole lot. I'm just concerned about, okay, 95 dwellings, 95 cars. Actually, it'll probably be more than that since they're family dwellings. I'm really concerned about that and where that drive will be. Will it be immediately to the east of my drive? Will it be centered somewhere in there? Perhaps it was on there. I saw the retention ponds and the dwellings, but didn't necessarily see the entryway. I also would like to know if there will be
a buffer and what sort? Will it be a fence? Will it be berms, so to speak? And, you know, where that will be in conjunction with that tree-lined driveway? So, is that my time?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
But feel free to complete your thought.
Well, again, the road, the concern of the road, it's a
Stormwater.
busy, dangerous
Stormwater in the
road.
road, yep.
And the flooding. And also been told there were going to be street lights, which, you know, part of living out there is being away from that sort of thing and wondering what the plan is there. But those would be my main concerns.
Okay, and you made a reference to a conference call. Was that with the applicant or was that with staff? Manatee
That was
County?
with applicant
Okay.
and the attorneys for the applicant. Was mainly just to ask some questions, and the answers we received pretty much, you know, were what we saw on the presentation.
Very good. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, and the next speaker card I have is T.R. Smith. Good morning. If you could, please state your name and that you have been sworn.
Hey, good morning. My name is T.R. Smith. I'm a resident of Manatee County. And like Ms. Rowland, our property is directly adjacent to this proposed project. And a lot of our concerns will go in line with what Ms. Rowland had to say, perhaps in a little more detail. So we reside on 15 acres directly adjacent and to the west of this project. This project is 30 acres. So I've got one resident on 15 acres directly beside this property. This is 30 acres with 95 residents proposed. So we're going to go from one resident on 15 acres to 95 residents on 30 acres. Quite a change for us. Certainly, there'll be a decreased quality of life in doing so. When we built out in Manatee County, out in Parish in particular, it was over 22 years ago. Certainly, there was a reason for doing so. That's what we wanted to be. We wanted that lifestyle. Certainly, we were aware that there was an opportunity for change in the future. And I'm not anti-growth. I'm sure that Ms. Rowland's not anti-growth. But we are in the position where we like to see responsible growth. And makes sense that with taking consideration the surrounding neighbors and conditions of such, the quality of life and so forth, we are very concerned with this proposed development. As mentioned before, this development prior was approved under PDR 0627ZP. That approval was for 45 units. I think in the record it shows 54. I think the final approval was less than 45. I thought it was around 42. With that approval going back to 2006, 2007, here we are 10, 15 years later. We've gone from what the board thought was a reasonable amount of homes of 42 to 45, and now we're at 95 as proposed. That's more than double from what was previously thought of before as far as growth for our area. So obviously what we're looking for is for you guys to consider a reduction in that density. I understand the process, as a layman, I understand the process regarding what needs to be done in order for a developer, an entrepreneur to be able to develop a piece of property. I know there's a lot of hurdles they have to go through and a lot of boxes have to be checked. But one of the things I want to make sure that we're all still looking at is it reasonable? Does this make sense for what you're trying to do and what the county's trying to do as far as growth plans and things like that, to be in such a rural area that is surrounded by estate-type homes on minimum of 5 acres, some are as much as 45 acres, that immediately surround this property, is now going to go to 95 homes on 30 acres. That is a real concern of ours. Regarding egress, Ms. Rowland also addressed that as well. I think if you look at the entrance to the project is proposed entrances on the east side of their property, which is directly adjacent to Mrs. Rowland's drive, which is directly adjacent to my drive, which is directly adjacent to other drives, that there's probably 10 or 15 families that share those drives. And as you look at the traffic study and what's being proposed, may I continue?
Yes, please.
Okay. What's being proposed is turn lane, at least one turn lane going from east to west, nothing going west to east towards our property or towards the project. With so many projects that are being developed to the east of us, that traffic flow, particularly from the Rye Road and areas like that, as those residents travel to the north part of the county and then to hit the interstate to go north into Hillsborough County, there's going to be terrific traffic growth as well on 675. We feel there's a concern regarding where the entrance is located specifically to our drives, that there's no turn lane for westbound traffic, there's a turn lane for eastbound traffic. But as you create that deceleration lane for the turn lane to the eastbound traffic into the project, it is directly in front of all entrances to the existing residents' drives. And we're very concerned about that.
Okay. Do you have more?
I do.
If you could, just please.
I will, I'll make it.
Make
brief
it
if I could,
concise.
please. Yes, okay. Water retention was addressed before. Right now, we do have a water issue, particularly in storms. Our drive is washed out 3 times from water coming from this particular property across our drive, across Mrs. Rowland's drive, where we've got to the point we've had to pave it just so we don't have erosion due to those issues. It's a real challenge, it's a real issue.
Right. Is there?
Got more, but you're not going to let me, so.
Well, if you just bullet point it, please, because we don't need the
I
narrative
understand.
part of it. We just need to understand what the points are.
Yeah, those are the main points. Safety,
Okay.
drive, density, lights. We discussed that. I spoke with the attorney representing the developer.
Right.
As well. The last PDR, the board did not approve lights for that subdivision, and we're requesting the same thing.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right. With that, those were the cards I had, but is there anybody else in the audience who wishes to come forward and speak on this application? Anyone at all? All right, I'm going to close the public comment portion of the hearing, and there were some pretty consistent elements that I think require some discussion. So let's start with stormwater. Mr. Island, good morning. If you could, state your name and that you have been sworn.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Andrew Island. I'm a professional engineer licensed in the state of Florida. I practice with Langen Engineering, and I'm here representing the applicant, and I have been sworn.
Thank you, sir. All right, with regard to stormwater, what's the, you've heard a couple of the neighbors raise concerns related to stormwater. In your experience, what's the method or the intent to address the concerns that they've raised?
Yeah, it's a very typical Manatee County site, high groundwater table. We do have the additional complication of the natural feature. We have an existing wetland at the north end of the site, and we have a creek system that actually bisects the site, which is to be maintained. So we're going to be crossing that with a roadway and building stormwater features on either side of that creek. So we have to follow all of the typical Southwest Florida Water Management District regulations, as well as the Manatee County stormwater regulations. It's worth noting that we are in a watershed that has an additional discharge restriction. So your Manatee County Land Development Code already requires that we reduce, and our stipulations state this as well, that we reduce the peak rate of runoff to the Gamble Creek watershed we sit in by 50% from the pre-development condition. So the developed project will actually discharge at a peak rate that is 50% of that which runs off the site today. So that, again, stormwater across an entire watershed is complex, so we can't go so far as to say that we are going to fix any multitude of problems off-site, but we should not be contributing to any problems due to peak flows because of that discharge rate reduction.
Very good. And for layman's terms, the reduction in runoff means that the water that typically would, in a pre-development condition, would fall on the site and run off has to be held on the site in the stormwater ponds?
Yes, correct. So when it rains, depending on what the land coverage is, some fraction of the rainfall becomes runoff, depending on what's going on with the ground cover. Because we're developing the site, that would tend to increase. So we build engineered stormwater ponds, we hold that water back, and we release it at a controlled rate. On a normal site, you're entitled to a peak rate of runoff that is equal to the rate at which water leaves the site in the pre-development condition. Here, we have the additional restriction. We have to essentially cut that in half. So if you think gallons per hour that are leaving the site in a rain event today, we have to cut that gallons per hour in half.
Okay, very good, thank you. And there is a conveyance that goes through the site. You mentioned that you're going to be crossing that with the road, which I would presume would have culverts.
Correct. There'll be engineered culverts sized appropriately to cross that.
To not have an influence on the neighbors' properties north or south?
Correct. We'll be required by our stipulations to show that we don't cause any adverse offsite impacts with our improvements. So the hydraulics of that roadway crossing will be sized accordingly to not cause problems upstream and downstream.
Okay. All right, very good. Any other stormwater questions for Mr. Island? Okay, thank you very much. I think one of the other issues were turn lanes. I don't know who to best address turn lanes. Are they going to have stormwater?
I'm your turn lane guy
Yeah.
today.
With regard to turn lanes, has the county, is there sufficient information where the county would presume that turn lanes would be required?
Yeah, we've already done the operational analysis there. We didn't warrant the westbound right into the project, but the county is requiring that as a safety and operational improvement. So there will be a westbound right turn lane into the project as well as an eastbound left.
And just looking at the aerials, this is an unusual site where there's, I should say areas, not just this site. There are several, I think they're described as flag lots along there where they have very narrow drives.
Yes.
What's the, how is that going to be accommodated or addressed with regard to the turn lanes? Are they going to be such that they don't have an impact on the access points to these properties?
Well, they're not proposed to be like any type of raised median or anything like that. It's just a turn lane, so it would only impact them if you had significant stacking.
Mm-hmm. Okay, but are the turn lanes that are been discussed, are they fully within the existing right-of-way, or is any portion of it going to be in dedicated right-of-way?
So based on the county's future right-of-way needs map, there is a right-of-way dedication that's happening as part of the project. So between the existing right-of-way width is fairly generous. So I believe the turn lanes would fit in the existing right-of-way, however, in the existing right-of-way, pardon me. But combined with the dedication, we have ample space to construct the turn lanes. The eastbound, it should be noted that the eastbound right-in turn lane is not going to extend very far past our eastern property limits. And that's one of the factors dictating why we've located the entrance road where we have on the western end of the property, so that as we add pavement outside the existing width of the roadway to put in that right lane, it's going to disrupt it's going to put as few driveways as possible, possibly tying into that. In addition to the fact that the location of the existing roadway where we have it now mimics the existing creek crossing, so that limits the environmental impacts that we're making with that roadway impact to the creek system.
With regard to pavement in front of adjacent driveways, the intent is that if there's a driveway in close proximity, it would be accommodated by the turn lane. Should it be, should there not be one close, that's where the lane, it's not going to terminate like halfway in between somebody's driveway. Is that kind of the idea?
Correct. And those details obviously get worked out at time of final site plan and construction plan approval with Public Works, but the existing driveways will be accommodated.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Mr. Roth?
Does this require any FDOT approval? Or is it a local?
This is a county road, so.
Yeah, correct. Sir, it does not. It does not require FDOT approval. It's only under county jurisdiction.
Very good. Any other questions for staff?
I think somebody brought up streetlights.
Yes, lighting. What's the, why would this be a concern? Is this a requirement that's being?
Lighting is something that hasn't been determined at this point. That's something the developer would determine at final site plan. There's no specific plan to have lighting here, but it could or could not be incorporated in the project.
Isn't it true, though, that you can have zero spillage on lighting if you design it right?
That's correct.
We'll pose that question to staff because I think there is county requirements for that. So we'll get some clarification from staff on that specific matter. So with that, are there any other questions or for the applicant? Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Do we have anybody that can address the county's lighting ordinance?
Street lights are not required for single-family development, are required for multifamily and non-residential uses. Anyway, if the applicant decides to do a street lighting, has to be no spill to any other properties.
So that means they have to submit a study and
They have to submit a lighting plan, and the lighting plan has to demonstrate that there is not impact to any adjacent properties.
Do you know if the county in a post-constructed condition goes out and verifies that, or is that something that's done?
Usually, we don't have many lighting plans for single-family residential.
Yeah.
But we always review that, and we certify that is not any impacts on.
Right, I didn't know if the county verified it, but I have seen where contractors do it because it's their onus to make sure that it complies with the code. So I didn't know if the county also verified that. So.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Any additional questions for staff?
Staff.
Yes.
So I have a couple of questions, and I appreciate the staff so much because they're very diligent, but I'm a little bit troubled by this conversion from 46 units to 95 units, to go from 1.4 to 3 units per acre. And then the other thing is the reduction, like the report says that it's good because compared to the new zoning, we've getting more green space, but in fact, compared to what was originally zoned, it's gone down by 18%. So I'm a little sensitive to the density. When I see the rest of the green space and our houses around this, and I think it's one of the negative aspects is the density of this residential unit compared to everybody else that's out there is a little daunting. So can you tell me the intellectual reasoning that this is, quote, acceptable?
Hi, good morning. This is Laura Gonzalez from Building Department, Development Department, and I have been
cool.
sworn. I am the case manager of the project, and yes, the property is in the UF3, the future land use category, and the maximum density that is allowed, the gross density, is 3 dwelling units per acre. This project is taking advantage of this maximum density that is allowed.
So my sensitivity is, yeah, that's the maximum. It's designed as a code to be analyzed and accommodated within the guidelines of what's surrounding it. That's kind of our standard, is what, does it meet the appropriateness of the area?
Well, but also the project complies with all other requirements of buffering and screening to separate this development from other areas and mitigate the possible or potential negative impact on these
Except
areas.
for traffic and noise and.
Sorry?
Except for traffic and noise and putting 100 people next door to you versus 50. I think there's some difference, no matter what you say.
Well, but the traffic study and all of the information that we have that was reviewed by the county staff, they have no objection to this project. So
this is where not being that smart, I got a very smart brother. He understands. Sometimes it just doesn't seem right.
Sometimes?
Yeah, sometimes it doesn't seem right. Like 100 versus 50 people next door. I don't know, it just seems a lot to me.
But it's the maximum that is allowed.
I would like to add something.
Yes.
In order to mitigate impacts, the applicant is proposing instead to 20 feet roadway buffer, they have 30 feet roadway buffer, exceeding 10 feet what is the minimum required. And also they have 5 feet more for greenbelt buffers. Instead to 15, they have 20. As assessed, we analyzed the projects in compliance with the regulations. I know that they're increasing the number of units. As the planner says, it's the maximum that is allowed. However, this is the trends that is in the area, and if you move forward to the east, has been approved with more than 3,500 units, smaller than the units that they are proposing. It's not that we are saying that is the best outfit, but it's in compliance with the regulations.
The other thing is that the open space that they are providing exceeds the code requirement. They are providing a 37% versus 25%, that is the code requirement. And also they are incorporating into the project natural features that already exist in the property. And the distance from the county roads 75 to the lot is approximately 600 feet. So it's,
I agree with everything. I think you said it correctly. I think that's the new code. Can we have 70 units? Just kidding. It's a joke. That's a joke. folks.
It's a joke.
Yeah, yeah.
yes.
Yeah, we don't negotiate number of
No,
units.
that's why it's humor.
So, all right,
Thanks.
thank you very much. And just one additional point of clarification, the number of units that were previously approved was based on the application and what was requested, correct? There wasn't a restriction or a limit,
No, it's a,
the previous application?
yes. The previous application was for 46 dwelling units at the preliminary site plan expired.
Yes.
So this new one.
And the reason it was approved for 47 units is that's what they asked for, correct? And that's what was found to be compliant.
I was not here at this moment, but
I probably
guess
was,
that
and
it
I
was
don't
the-
remember.
Yes.
Okay.
So, all right, thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. Mr. Roth, did you have a question? I saw you reaching for the mic.
There's an interesting situation here that I don't know how we're going to resolve it unless somebody can tell me how. We had a previous situation in my community where buildings went up based on the code and the zoning that was set up in 1990. And that may very well be now we're dealing with the current code, which is allowing 90-some-odd units. Our job is to allow what is set up in the code. And if the code says it's okay, unless it's non-compatible or whatever it is that might be dramatic, it goes. Here you have a situation that we're looking at which is compatible with the code, not necessarily compatible with the area. I don't know how to get around that.
Well, we'll deliberate that once we...
At another time. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So with that, from the commissioners, any additional questions for staff? Okay, hearing none. Any questions for the applicant before we allow them closing comments or rebuttal? Okay, hearing none. Mr. Rudisil, can you please provide closing comments or your rebuttal?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Going to Mr. Rutledge's comments, and I appreciate them. Some of you will recall there was a time in this county around the time that the prior project was approved on this site, where you would come forward with an application and you would be lucky to get half of the allowable density. And so that was the standard from that county commission at that time. And you would come forward sometimes with half and they would beat you down. There was a bartering, at the dais during the hearings, and they'd say, yeah, but could you do 70 units, right? We're going to redesign your project. Right. But at some point, we had the How Will We Grow report, and they looked at it and said, if we develop the rest of the county out at half the allowable density, you are doing this county a major disservice in terms of the efficiency of your infrastructure and in terms of discouraging urban sprawl, because you're going to get built out, and then next thing you know, you're just going further and further east. So there was a conscious shift to say, look, we're gonna look at the areas west of our FDAB line, and we're going to allow for some development in there that gets us up towards these numbers, at least in certain areas where it's appropriate. We think it is here. We've got, like I mentioned, when you look at that development trends map, Rye Ranch, just to the east of this, has multifamily, commercial, 3,500 units. So we think this is consistent with the direction and the trends of development in this area. I did want to note there were a couple of folks that spoke that are located on the western side of this property. We did add a stipulation this week that we're going to include a 6-foot opaque wall or fence along with the 20-foot buffer along that western portion of the project. So that was something we added this week, but happy to answer any questions.
Very good. No more questions, though.
Can I just ask one other question? Is there any direct access onto that western border with the adjacent property owners, or is that secluded 100%? I mean, There's no access point to get from these homes to the residents we heard today.
No.
Okay.
No, there's a future inter-neighborhood tie. Is there one to the west? Hold on a second, let me look. No, only to the east. There's a future inter-neighborhood tie to the east.
Okay.
All right, thank you. With that, I'm going to close the public hearing and open up for discussion and deliberation. I do have a very strong opinion with regard to what we're being asked to do. As a planning commission, we're being asked to judge any application against two documents, the comprehensive plan and the land development code. We don't have the advantage of liking or disliking something. Quasi judicial, we have to be judges related to this. There may be an opinion that this isn't appropriate. That's where compatibility comes in. And in my view, compatibility is very different from preference. So if we ask, is residential compatible to residential, that's compatibility. If we ask, is it preference, is a more dense development preferred over a more agrarian type of neighborhood, that's different. I don't know that the code complies with that or has that as a condition. So even though we may not like it, we have to, we leave those decisions that possibly would involve some type of negotiation to the board. So I think we need to keep that in mind. Like I said, it seems, again, also in my opinion, but it's not, my opinion's not necessarily going to influence my vote, is it is seem a little bit early in the process for development out further. I know there are some larger ones, but I think incremental infilling is a little bit early, but it's going to happen at some point. But that's just my observation. So, any other thoughts related to this application? I guess not. Mr. Roth, is that is that what you were struggling with?
Before I came to the commission, or was lucky enough to get on the commission, I interviewed with the Board of County Commissioners, actually at the behest of my friend. In fact, I interviewed with them twice. And they basically told me what you just said. Our job is to do what the current rules indicate, unless there's something unique about the property that is, I don't know, disgusting or not in line with human beings or whatever it is. And that is somewhat restrictive in my head, but obviously what we're supposed to do. And what I believe happens is it gets to the county commissioners, and if they want to change the rules that are currently on paper, they find a way if they think it's necessary. That's it.
Right. Yes, and like I said, as the planning commission, our job is to just view it against the codes, and so that's how I try to approach these things. So, any additional thoughts before we consider a motion?
Thank you for listening.
Thank you. All right, Chair, I'll open up for a motion.
Mr. Chair, I'll go ahead and make the motion.
Mr. Ron.
Even though I agree with your comments. Based upon the staff report, evidence presented, comments made to public hearing, and finding the request to be consistent with the Manatee County Comprehensive Plan and the Manatee County Land Development Code as contained herein, I move to recommend approval of Manatee County zoning ordinance PDR 2118P as recommended by staff.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, that would also include the stipulation A6 and the update memo.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Motion amended and second, accepting the amendment.
Thank you for
Okay.
catching that.
All right, with that, we'll call the matter to vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Chair votes aye. Motion passes 6-0. So next item is item number 5. Can we,
Can we
with
take a
that?
break? Can we take a break?
Yeah, we will. I just wanted to make sure Mr. Osborne had a chance to get up here before we called a recess. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to take a 10-minute recess. We'll reconvene at 11:10. Thank you.
Somebody give me the.
Well, the governor just turned out $35 million from the Tigers facility.
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah.
All right, I'd like to call the meeting to order. We're on item number 6. Ms. Lydar, can you please read item number 6 into the record?
It's number 5.
Okay, I'm trying to jump
Sorry,
ahead.
we're ahead of us.
Sorry. Is PDC 2119 CG Swift Self-Storage, Belisa Masara, owner, and it's a quasi-judicial case. It's a rezone of more or less 4.7 acres generally located east of the intersection of Upper Manatee River Road and Port Harbor Parkway, and commonly known as 157 Upper Manatee River Northeast in Bradenton, from A1 Agricultural Suburban to PDC Plan Development Commercial Zoning District, and approving a general development plan for a self-storage facility of a maximum 103,039 square feet with a caretaker residence and outdoor storage. Here representing the applicant is Mr. John Osborne, and the case manager is Ms. Laura Gonzalez.
All right, and for the commission, have there been any ex parte communications regarding this application?
No.
All right, also presentation upon request. I have a speaker card, but it says in favor, so we'll focus on the kind of the overview right now.
Okay.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. John Osborne with Green Street Associates, and I have been sworn, and I'm a resident of Manatee County. So to go to the slideshow. So this site is Swift Self-Storage, as Ms. Leiter spoke of. This project team is made up of Mr. James O'Neill, Dave Gustafson, myself, Bob Schmidt, Joey Leggett-Murphy, and conspicuously absent is our environmental consultant, Joel Christian, who I will add on for the board. Project is located up on Upper Manatee River Road, just north of 64 at the intersection of Port Harbor Parkway, if you're familiar with that area. It's an area of growth in Manatee County. There's a lot of projects being built in that area. It's just across the street from the Heritage Harbor DRI, right across the street from what's called Parcel 35, actually, of the Heritage Harbor DRI. And there's been a significant amount of growth in approved units in this area. And this project is also at a commercial node. So zooming in a little bit more, you can see the project and what's in the vicinity is across the street. There's some 4-story apartments there to the southwest, to the immediately or there across the street into the little bit on the west side of, the southwest side. But the northwest side also has part of Heritage Harbor DRI, and that was approved back in 2020 for a 5-story assisted living facility. And some of the surrounding uses include vacant property. There is some residential around, but there's also some uses that have business support type uses, a landscaper and things like that. People have some type of business uses also in addition to living on site. So in terms of the county's plan for the area, it's in the Urban Fringe 3 future land uses. This is at a commercial node. We're within 1,500 feet of the intersection, consistent with policy 21042. And the area is essentially A1 zoning, and we chose plan development commercial because we wanted to provide the board some certainty about what was going on. We could have just rezoned to general commercial, but a lot of times you do a straight rezone. There's a lot of things that could go there. And self-storage facilities are pretty benign uses. They don't generate a lot of traffic. They don't use a lot of water. They don't use a lot of sewer. But they're there. They serve the business community and the residential community for those self-storage needs. They are a pretty quiet neighbor. We are proposing something with some quality architecture, very consistent with the Lakewood Ranch area and the Heritage Harbor DRI. If you recall those, what the apartments across the street look like, very aesthetic, very high-end looking. So this is our site plan. And you can see the inside of the blue line is where the developable area is inside. And as we went through the review process with the county, we actually had a little more detailed site plan initially. So we actually had some buildings on it and some parking areas and things like that. But you can notice this little local street here on the bottom. And this is actually a local street that the county has requested us to consider for this project, to have access off this little local street, instead of just having a direct access to Upper Manatee River Road. The property to the south may also develop. There's about 50 acres vacant, which I'll get into in a minute. And this would actually, from an access management perspective, Upper Manatee River Road is in the CIP to be widened. It's under design right now. And this would also facilitate It helped preserve the preservation of the level of service of the road. If you think about if the property to develop to the south developed, it could be multiple curb cuts. This provides a public access as that property develops to get everyone to a signalized intersection. It doesn't really help us that much, but it certainly helps the properties in the area to basically have safer access to a signalized intersection. So, but one thing is about self-storage facilities, some of the designs are very access dependent. The best situation layout is essentially if you have a very rectangular facility, and if you recall, most self-storage facilities have a gated access point, and they're stacking behind that. So if you have the more rectangular facility you can have, kind of the better. But this actually I'm going to go back one more. This actually changes our potential access. So that's why we talked to county staff, Public Works about stepping back a bit, and Ms. Leiter taking some of the detail out, because if the county does want to improve this intersection consistent with the CIP project, and again, it's still in design, it kind of changes where our access could be located. And until we know if this is for certain a local street, what does this intersection look like? Is it going to have a dedicated right turn lane out going northbound Upper Manatee? It's going to have a dedicated left out. Is there a through lane too? So when you think about all those things, that pushes your access for us potentially further and further to the east. And that changes some of the design parameters of what type of site design we would consider here. One of the things you may say to yourself, oh my gosh, you must be like mad about this. Well, we're really not. We actually, several of us live in this area. Upper Manatee River Road is a very busy road. We applaud the county for widening it. We also applaud the county for being proactive and thinking through this stuff ahead of time to provide us safer access, not just for our customers in the future, but also for the development to the south. So what this will look like as it's developed. So this is some pictures of some example buffers. A lot of times when you all see these cross sections of the county buffer standards, you may say, what do these really look like, when they get installed? So these are just some examples of what they typically look like. So on the north side of our property, the buffer will look something like this. So every 100 linear feet, there'll be a couple of canopy trees and 3.5 understory trees and a fence. On the south side, if the road is built, if it is a local street, it will have the kind of buffer that you see here. But also when we added a local street to our south side, we have to increase our setback. So we also lose a little bit there as well when you're set back from a local street. So we're willing to work with the county on this, and here's our east buffer standard. And our east buffer, we're adjacent to a couple businesses. Also on the east side, there is a single-family residential use. We'll have a little bit wider buffer on the north end, but the buffer narrows a bit as it traverses our eastern buffer to the south, or eastern property line to the south. And the west buffer is your typical frontage buffer along a thoroughfare roadway. So if you were standing on our southern access point, you can kind of follow along where I'm standing here when I took these pictures on our site versus the intersection. This was an old tree farm originally, just like a lot of the properties in this area. They grew trees and sold them for landscaping projects. And so if you're looking at our southern gate right now, standing there, this is what you would see. So this road or this access point could be just an access point at some point, which will have access to the signal, or if the county pursues the local street option, this will be a local street intersection, basically like a local version of Port Harbor Parkway extended to the east onto our site. So looking north, you can see what the property looks like along Upper Manatee. It's pretty densely vegetated. And you can see looking there to the southwest, those are the 4-story apartments that exist in Heritage Harbor. Those are pretty tall. So here's just looking into the site. It's heavily vegetated. Looking across the street, standing a little bit to the north, and that's where the 5-story assisted living facility is planned to go. Looking into the northern driveway, there is a single-family residence on site. And standing on the site, trying to give you an idea what it looks like through the site. It's heavily vegetated, so you really can't get there from here to show you what it looks like through the fence, unless I wanted to, get the machete out. Again, just kind of give you an idea what the area is like looking to the southeast. And standing at Port Harbor Parkway and looking into our site, the southern access drive. And again, this could be a local street going back a little ways into our property, which would be a county right-of-way eventually, which would facilitate the access for our folks to use this access to get everybody to the signal. And of course, as the property to the south is called the Moore Dairy, and they've been doing some development there as well. We did have a neighborhood workshop to discuss all this. We had about 20 people attend, about 5 were affiliated with our project, and they had some concerns about just the volume of traffic in the area, the county was thinking about with extending the Port Harbor Parkway extension along our southern border. They also had some concerns about some flooding issues that happen in that area. And the appropriateness of commercial this location was also brought up in our neighborhood workshop. So looking at the future thoroughfare plan for the area, if you zoom in a bit, so there's our site there in yellow. Upper Manatee River Road is a future 4-lane. Again, there's an active CIP project, but you notice there is no little road along our southern border. It's not a thoroughfare plan to be there, but the county wanted to have a local street along the southern border. This is a screenshot of the county's active capital improvement plan for the widening of Upper Manatee River Road, which will include this intersection as well. And we are providing a right-of-way setback consistent with their desires. And we're also willing to work with the county on providing that necessary right-of-way earlier on in the process if need be. So zooming in a bit more, you can see our site there in yellow, and then in the yellow dash line or orange, I'm not good saying what colors are what, but as you can see the bigger area, it's about a 50-acre area to our south. That's the Moridarity. If you drove up there recently, you would notice that where that little green box is. It didn't show up on the aerial, but that green box right now is some private beach volleyball courts and some private volleyball courts. So if you join Upper Manatee River Sports, you can be a member and play privately at those facilities. And they have expansion plans, which at some point they'll come to the county with. But we're right across the street from Heritage Harbor, the apartments and the assisted living facilities. So again, we're cooperating with the county and the property owner to the south on this little, public road that will facilitate access to our site and to theirs. So in terms of the criteria for rezoning, the Manatee County Land Development Code has a list of criteria you have to meet. We've met that criteria. We also have a traffic impact statement that was approved. Self-storage facilities obviously don't generate a lot of traffic. So if you're under 100 trips, you don't have to do a full traffic study. We only generate about 20 trips in the PM peak hour, and that's the maximum. That if we built to 100,000, 103,000 square feet, it would be that many trips. So we have to, as we go through the process, we'll have to meet all the plan development criteria through the final site plan review process, because once we know how this road is going to align, what the county's plans are for the intersection improvements, we'll know where our access point is, and that'll dictate if we're going to do a type of self-storage facility that's made up of multiple small buildings or maybe a 3-story facility. We're leaning towards the 3-story facility now just because of the way it's looking with the separation requirements when you start designing a road, and we need to move forward on our site plan as well, on the final site plan side, as we time is a ticking, as they say. So we're requesting approval of this general development plan, up to 103,000 square feet, up to 35 feet in height. Plan development commercial has very specific criteria with it. There's greater open space requirements, buffering requirements. The standards are very high for us to meet, and we'll be working with the staff through the final site plan process for this. We aren't requesting any specific approvals for our site. We agree with the proposed stipulations, and we respectfully request approval of our project. Mr. Connolly is here for questions.
Very good. Thank you very much. Any questions for the applicant? All right. I think we had everything we needed. I had one speaker card, but Mr. Gustafson, you're part of the development team, so not necessary. But with that, I'm going to go ahead and open it up for public comment. Is there anybody in the audience who wishes to come forward and make a statement regarding this application? Anyone at all? Okay, seeing no one come forward, we're going to close the public comment portion of the hearing and ask the commission if anything additional is necessary. No. Staff, is there a desire to put anything additional on the record?
Hi, for the record, this is Laura Gonzalez with Development Services, and if you have any question, I'll be glad to answer.
Very good, thank you. Anything? All right, with that, Mr. Osborne, any closing comments? Thank you. All right, with that, we're going to close the public hearing, and Chair will consider a motion or discussion.
I'll make a motion.
Yes, ma'am.
Based upon the staff report, evidence presented, comments made at the public hearing, and finding the request to be consistent with the Manatee County Comprehensive Plan and Land Development Code, I move to recommend adoption of Manatee County Zoning Ordinance Number PDC 21-19ZG, approval of a general development plan with stipulations A1 through A12, B1 through B4, C1, and D1 through D5.
Very good. We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mr. Ron, second. Any discussion? All right, call the matter to vote. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, like sign. Chair votes aye. Motion passes 6-0. Next, thank you very much. Next item, again, presentation upon request, PDMU 1616 G/R. Ms. Slidar, can you please enter that into the record?
Yes. PDMU 1616 GR Paris Lake General Development Plan Amendment is a quasi-judicial case. Is an amending ordinance PDMU 1616 CG to approve changes to the general development plan and the ordinance as follows. Revise the design standards to correct errors to the minimum single-family attached lot size for traditional design standard from 2,000 square feet to 2,200 square feet, and to modify the minimum single-family attached lot size for conventional design standards from 2,500 square feet to 2,000 square feet. Modify required buffers width along Moccasin Waller Road to be 30 feet when adjacent to residential and 25 feet when adjacent to commercial properties or projects. Update phasing and build-out days to reflect previously granted legislative extensions. Amend stipulation to reflect the approval of the local development agreement. Update the name of the developer. Adjust access point to match current planning access point, and modify certain conditions consistent with current department practices. The site include more or less 1,155 acres zoning PDMU and generally located on the south side of Moccasin Wallow Road, more or less 0.74 miles east of I-75, north side of Erie Road at 7205 and 8505 Moccasin Wallow Road, and extending on 7400, 7205, 7705, and 78 Sawgrass Road, extending from Moccasin Wallow Road to Erie Road in Parish. The case manager is Rosina Leider, and the applicant is Mr. Clint Koffel.
Very good. And for the commissioners, have there been any ex parte communications regarding this application? Okay, hearing none. Mr. Koffel, this again is a presentation upon request, so if you would like to introduce the application, and then we'll see if there's any specific things that the commissioner would like additional information.
Okay, great. Good morning, Mr. Connolly and the commissioner. My name is Clint Kuffel, principal at WRA Engineering, and I have been sworn.
Thank you.
Again, Ms. Slider went through a very detailed description exactly what we're here for. It's a modification of a GDP for an existing Parish Lakes development, and I can answer any questions you may have.
Very good. And one of the things I would like to do is open it up for public comment to see if there's anything specific we should focus on. So with that, I'm going to open up this application to public comment. Is there anybody in the audience who wishes to come forward and make a comment regarding this application? Anyone at all? Okay, seeing no one come forward, I'm going to close the public comment portion of the hearing and ask staff. Ms. Leiter, was there anything specific that you wanted the commissioners to understand?
No, it's a simple application, looks really long advertised, but are clean up for design standards, clean up for the roadway buffers that were before under North Central overlay, and the current practices for access points. And I would like to point out that there is not increase in the number of units, and there is no increase in the intensity that was previously approved. It's only to work with specific design standards.
Okay, very good. Thank you. With that explanation, is there anything additional the board requires to make a determination? Okay, hearing none. Ms. Slider, is there anything additional before I allow Mr. Kuffel his rebuttal?
Specific questions?
No. Okay, nothing additional. All right, very good. With that, I'm going to close the public hearing and open it up for a motion. What's the pleasure of the commission?
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion.
Mr. Ron.
Based upon the staff report, evidence presented, comments made at public hearing, and finding the request to be consistent with the Manatee County Comprehensive Plan and the Manatee County Land Development Code as contained herein, I move to recommend approval of Manatee County zoning ordinance number PDMU MU 1616GR and approval of the revised general development plan with stipulations.
All right, we have a motion. Is there a second?
A second.
Mr. Smock, second. Any discussion? All right, Chair's going to call the matter to vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Chair votes aye, motion passes 6-0. All right, we're moving on to advertised public hearings. Item number 7 and item number 8, I have a conflict of interest, so I'm going to have to recuse myself. So I'll be turning over the chairmanship to Mr. Ron, and I'll let Mr. Ron take it from here.
Thank you, Chairman. Being it's at 11:31, is it the wish of the board to proceed with number 7 and then after that potentially adjourn for lunch, recess for lunch?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
I was going to point out 7 and 8 can be heard together. They're both the same project.
Okay, yes, ma'am. All right,
Same
so.
DRI. So
all
it
right,
should go quicker.
So you want Ms. Leiter to read them both into the record
Yes,
separately?
please.
And then we'll proceed as the same.
Yeah, okay, I'm on public hearing both, and then vote separate.
Okay, all right, thank you. Ms. Leiter, can you read, well,
Yes.
first, is there
I'm gonna-
any ex parte communications on either 7 or 8?
No.
All right, thank you. Ms. Leiter, can you read both of them into the record? Thank you.
Item number 7, ordinance 2264, Lakewood Center, DRI number 27, is amended and restated development order pursuant to Chapter 380.06 Florida Status for the Lakewood Center Development of Regional Impact, DRI number 27, ordinance 1911, to approve the following changes to map H and the development order as follow. 1, facilitate land use exchanges pursuant to the land use equivalency matrix. First, 195,877 square feet of retail for 760 multifamily units. Second, 150 hotel rooms for 199 multifamily units. Third, 873,530 square feet of office for 595 multifamily units, and 23,345 square feet of office for 67 single-family units. And second, other amendments for internal consistency, providing for development rights, conditions, and obligations. The DRI was approved in August 5, 2008, and consistent with 3 phases for 405,044 residential units, 1,574,000 square feet of commercial space, and 1,463,000 square feet of office space, including also 250,000 square feet of industrial area and 300 hotel rooms. The site is located north of 44th Avenue East of Lakewood Ranch Boulevard, west of White Eagle Boulevard, and south of State Road 64. The present zoning is PDMU, PDMU WE, and ST, that is Plan Development Mixed Use, Plan Development Watershed Protection Special Treatment Overlay, and contain 1,593 acres. And item number, and the case manager is Mr. Marshall Robinson. Item number 8, PDMU 0630 GR7 Lakewood Center General Development Plan is a quasi-judicial case and is amending ordinance PDMU 0630 GR6 to approve changes to the General Development Plan as follow. Facilitate land use exchanges pursuant to the land equivalency matrix as follow. 195,877 square feet of retail for 760 multifamily units, 150 hotel rooms for 199 multifamily units, 873,500 square feet office for 594 multifamily units, and 23,345 square feet of office for 67 single-family units. Allocate parcel entitlements based upon internal transfers within the project. Increase the maximum height for multifamily parcels I2 and G2 to 6 stories. Update phasing and build-out dates to reflect previously granted legislative extensions amend stipulations to facilitate those changes, modify certain conditions consistent with current practices, and for internal consistency. As previously stated, the Lakewood Center DRI is in the southern portion of State Road 70, south of Malachi Drive, east of Lakewood Ranch Boulevard, and west of the White Eagle Boulevard, and in the northern portion of the generally located north of 44th Avenue East, south of State Road 64, and east of Lakewood Ranch Boulevard, and west of White Eagle Boulevard, and contain more or less 1,593 acres.
Thank you very much. I'm glad you read that instead of me.
Oops. And the case manager again is Mr. Marshall Robinson, and here representing the applicant is Ms. Leslie Gladfelter.
Good morning. If you could state your name and that you have been sworn.
Yes, Leslie Gladfelter with Grimes Galvano, and yes, I have been sworn.
Thank you.
And I'm filling in today for my other law partner, Kyle Grimes, who's on his honeymoon, and of course for his alternate, Caleb Grimes, who I have earlier indicated is quarantined in France. So.
We don't feel bad for either one of them.
I know. I know, right? And in any event, and I have been sworn, if I didn't say that.
Thank you.
I represent the applicant, SMR North 70 LLC, and here today from SMR is Suzanne Fugate, and she's and also here is Matt Krim, who is the transportation consultant from Stantec, if you guys have transportation questions. And I just want to note that, if you ask me questions after my presentation, I may have to go over and ask Suzanne something, okay, before I can respond. Sure. And let me see if I can deal with the slides here. Oh, okay, good, first slide. The development, as it was pointed out, is Lakewood Center, which is a DRI that consists of approximately 1,590 acres in Manatee County between State Road 70 and State Road 64. Okay, I'm not pushing the right button. Oh. Okay. Yes, that's the right one. Okay. The Lakewood Center DRI and GDP were first approved in 2008. The original boundary of the DRI and GDP consisted of approximately 697 acres, and the original entitlements included 3,675 residential units, 1,774,000 square feet of retail, 1,563 square feet of office, and 300 hotel rooms. The southern portion of the DRI, which is on your screen, includes the original area and is located generally north of State Road 70 and south of Malachite Drive, bordered on the east, of course, by White Eagle and Lakewood Ranch Boulevard. The DRI and the GDP have been amended several times over the years to account for various changes in circumstances. This slide and the next slide of the northern portion show the basic history of these changes. And I just want to point out that even with the, and I'll probably point this out again later, but even with the addition of all this acreage over the years, the overall entitlements for the DRI have never changed. They've just been spread to additional acreage. Looking at the southern portion of the site, in 2017, the light industrial use was added as a land use. And in 2020, an additional 69.55 acres were added to the DRI, and that's what we sort of fondly refer to as the former arena site, which is parcel M on the site plan. Switching to, switching to the northern portion of the site, northern portion of the DRI. It's between 44th Avenue East on the south and State Road 64 on the north. In 2014, 796 acres were added to the project, but again, no new entitlements were requested and were just reallocated to the new parcels. In 2019, there was a comprehensive plan amendment for the land use, the comp plan, future land use category of an adjacent 30-acre parcel from light industrial to MUC, and that was approved. And again, important to note that over the years, all these changes, approximately 895 acres was added to the original DRI without increasing the overall entitlements. These are the current approvals for the project. 544 residential dwelling units, 1,574,000 square feet of commercial, 1,463,000 square feet of office, 250,000 square feet of light industrial, and 300 hotel rooms. The proposed changes pursuant to the land use exchange are as follows, and shown on this slide, exchanging 195,877 square feet of retail for 760 multifamily units. Exchanging 150 hotel rooms for 199 multifamily units. Exchanging 873,530 square feet of office for 594 multifamily units, and 23,345 square feet of office for 67 single-family units. And again, with the reallocation of entitlements throughout the DRI, and an increase in the maximum height for certain multifamily buildings that I'll point out in a minute, and minor modifications to true up entitlements. The reason for this request is for 357 of the multifamily units resulting from the exchange shall be allocated to parcel M. Again, this is that former arena site, to serve as the second phase of the Ryan Company's apartment project. The first phase of that project is currently going through the FSP process. 1,200 of the multifamily units resulting from the exchange shall be allocated to parcels I2 and J2 in the southern portion of the DRI for a senior living and retirement community project. 67 of the single-family units, along with 17 of the currently approved and unused single-family units, shall be allocated to parcel Y, which is next to the existing school site. And this is a change that everyone seem to want from multifamily to single family. The total 84 units is consistent with the recently approved maximum number of units noted for that parcel. The general rationale for this is that Lakewood Center is a 13-year-old master planned community, and one of the most important aspects included in all of the DRI development ordinances and zoning ordinances, the ability to make modifications to each development to account for changes in circumstances over the years. And built into that is that need of flexibility is accommodated by including the land use equivalency matrix that's found in the DRI DO, and providing a process for amending the schedule of uses approved for the project. And as everyone knows, over the last few years, demand for housing has increased while demand for office space and retail space has decreased, with lots of more people working from home, shopping online, just being a few examples. The availability of lands in this area of the county for residential is very limited, so one of the ways to meet this demand is to amend master plan DRIs, and again, with this built-in procedure for land use exchanges. In the traffic category, trip generation comparison shows a net decrease in PM peak hour trips. And again, if you have any questions about that, I have the expert, Matt Krim, here to respond. Our second request, let's see. Our second request is to increase the maximum building height for multifamily on parcels I2 and J2 from 5 stories to 6 stories. And those are the parcels that are proposed for the senior living and community housing projects. The surrounding area is either non-residential or planned for other multifamily projects. The one parcel, I believe it's J2, is located on State Road 70, and I2 is just slightly north of it. It's the surrounding, and these parcels are south of Rangeland and north of State Road 70. And the proposed use is compatible with the surrounding areas. These parcels are currently approved for up to 12 stories if developed, with an office building component. But now the proposal is generally to accommodate these 6-story senior living projects. Our third request is the relocation of entitlements through the project to account for approved or planned conditions. And this can be done at an administrative level, but whenever we bring forward these official amendments to the DO and the ZO, this is the normal practice to include these. Display my next slide. And here are the proposed project components. Again, the result being 6,164 residential dwelling units, 1,378,123 square feet of commercial, 566,125 square feet of office, 250,000 square feet of light industrial, and 150 hotel rooms. And just as a summary, the proposed amendments to the DO, the ZO, and the GDP do not seek to increase entitlements for Lakewood Center, but seek to reallocate already available entitlements. And as stated previously, one of the most important aspects of these DRI development orders is to provide for the ability to make modifications to each development to account for change in circumstances over the years. Because of technology and other changes, the demand for office space and retail has decreased, and the demand for housing, particularly given the popularity of Manatee County, has increased. The need for senior housing and retirement community facilities has also increased as the population has grown and matured over the years. And as for traffic, the result of the proposed change is the generation of fewer net PM peak hour trips. And we just request that you recommend approval of both these ordinances. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Is there any questions by the Planning Commission of the applicant?
No. No.
Seeing none, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
You're up, staff.
Thank you, Chairman. Marshall Robinson, staff planner, and I have been sworn. The applicant did a good job of scrubbing all the amendments that are being proposed. To just point out a couple of things. With the age and all the development entitlements, we're not increasing any density or intensity. They're just, basically the way this works is they have a land use equivalency matrix that establishes permitted uses and how much of those permitted uses. And then what that table allows them to do is revisit the project and make exchanges and swap out some uses for other uses. And there are different multipliers that they use to make sure they don't get too far beyond their traffic. So the important thing to take away here is the master plan accounts for all the screening, buffering, and compatibility measures for each of those parcels. And I'll just buzz through the so you can take a look at the map here. There are a lot of development parcels that have identifiers on them as to where they're located. And in their staff report, I tried to annotate where all of the reallocation of entitlements will land. But again, we're not increasing any of the overall entitlements with these. They're just reallocating the location for them. And based on the traffic information that was submitted, they're still inside their original trip captures that the project was last approved for under the traffic study. They'll just have to come back each time they want to do an FSP approval. They have to get a CLOS and establish that they have correct operational analysis and those things of that nature. But for the zoning, this is just to establish what you can and can't do and how much of it you can do, and then rely on the master plan's screening buffer and other requirements to house that change of development. And that's all I have, unless anybody has any questions. I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions of staff?
Would you, you've obviously worked through this for a period of time. Do you find any discomfort in the approach they've taken? I mean, these conversion ladders are pretty common. I think Lakewood Ranch has done a great job out there. It's pretty hard pressed to say that I know better than they do what should be going on there because their exposure is much higher than mine. So do you have any discomfort in the presentation of the design plans at this point that you've seen?
Commissioner, from a zoning standpoint at this stage, when we're at the Planning Commission and we're just talking about the entitlements, everything is appropriate, everything meets the ordinance that was previously approved. They've not gotten outside of any of those parameters. And they have used the equivalency matrix pretty effective to keep up with socioeconomic and cultural changes over the years.
Okay, that's all I need.
Any other questions of staff? Thank you, Mr. Robinson.
Thank you, sir.
What I'd like we do now is like to open up for public comment. We have no speaker cards on either item. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on either 7 or 8? See no one coming forward. What I'd like to do now is go to staff closing comments. No comment. Okay. Any applicant rebuttal? Thank you very much. Any deliberation amongst the board regarding 7 or 8? All right, what I'd like to do is, I'd like to get a motion on, we're going to motion them separately, so I'd like to get a motion on number 7.
Make a motion on number 7.
You're not gonna
As detailed in
the
Detailed in the report?
I would just say for approval.
Yes.
Approval?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you, ma'am. Kind of caught me off guard.
I'm ready.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Yes, ma'am?
You didn't hear who seconded the motion.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Didn't hear me? That's
I thought I had stereo going on.
Dual second.
Sorry about that.
You win.
I had at the same time. The vote was unanimous. Chair voted aye with Mr. Connolly having to recuse himself and Mr. Lesline absent. On number 8, can I have a motion on number 8?
I'll move to accept it as submitted.
Thank you, Mr. Rutledge. Can
Well, so just to clarify, that's motion to approve the project as stated in the staff report.
Yes, like exactly.
Thank you, Ms. Shank.
Exactly.
Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, ma'am. With that, call to vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. That's 5-0. Motion moves forward. And with Mr. Connerly and Mr. Lesline absent. If there's no other business to be conducted today, we will adjourn the Planning Commission. Thank you.
Nice work.